That is very much so a boojum. Are you Irish? Do you think I could get away with having my name if I wasn't Irish? Of course I'm Irish. Now, I can talk while I'm eating, but like, I don't really feel like role-playing as a sound today. You know what I mean? So I'm on mute. Which Irish? The fact that you have to ask me that tells me you're not Irish. The stream starts at approximately 30 minutes, so just leave this shit on, go get yourself a drink, maybe a snack, and we'll settle in. I just finished my food, had a lovely boojum, got myself a salad bowl, pinto beans, barbacoa beef, guacamole, sour cream, a little bit of spring, sweet corn. Salsa verde, because I like it hot, but not too hot. Not a day where I'm going to do a lot of talking. You got guacamole in Ireland? Believe it or not, Ireland is an internationalized country, though you can get many things. I think my favorite button is now the show people ads button, because if you guys get like a little you guys get a little bit too much in chat, I can just hit that ads button, boom, and I just make you guys even more mad. It's beautiful. In fact, my ads are on cooldown on Twitch. What is this? Let me click the ad button. Yeah, you refresh the page, you can click it. Oh no, they fixed that. Damn it. That was my one trick. Prime Gaming benefits reminder. Okay, Zelda can stop now. So this is the pre-stream. Maybe if I yell, oh dude, if I yell loud enough, maybe one of the dudes who's like running the show accidentally has my stream pulled up and it'll start playing. No, Brian's on top of it. He knows how to mute streams. He wouldn't make that mistake. Civ 7 question, is there a back button? I don't know if you discussed that. I don't know if there's an undo button. I don't remember there being an undo button. I would love an undo button though, good God. The things, the mothers I would take on steak dinners for an undo button. Dude, I need to go back to a triple desktop setup. I'm on a double desktop and it just doesn't feel like enough. Denuvo on PC is strong enough to make me pre-order on Xbox. What is the issue you have with Denuvo? Isn't like Xbox literally a DRM? It's a machine of, it's a DRM machine. The whole machine is DRM. Xbox is everything you hate about Denuvo, but more. Am I wrong? It's literally a walled garden that you can't, like, you have to jailbreak your Xbox to install software on it. Whereas, like, on PC, I can be like, listen, I'm gonna download viruses from downloadmoreram.com and nobody can stop me. Xbox is a console, who cares? A significant portion of the people who play Civilization play it on console, my dude, which is why they're bringing it to every platform on launch. Denuvo is like not having an issue with a cop in your house because you aren't breaking the law. What? Yeah, I love getting malware. I'm sorry, listen, I'm not saying Denuvo is good. What I am saying, though, is the statement, I'm not buying it on PC, I'm buying it on Xbox instead because of Denuvo. It's like everything that you could possibly hate about Denuvo for a PC launch is worse because you're buying it on Xbox, because Xbox has even more restrictive spyware crazy stuff. I'm not stupid. I know I'm right on this. I had to refund my pre-order because Denuvo doesn't work on Linux. Listen, I appreciate that there are people out there that game on Linux, but if I open up the Steam hardware survey, the Linux user base is a rounding error, okay? There is no point in bringing a game to Linux because there's just... I'm sorry. I hate to shit on you. I'm sure you're a power user. You could figure out how to, you know, install Windows on a Raspberry Pi or something. Civ 6 was natively on Linux. Steam Deck is significant. It's a weird analogy because you only play games on the Xbox. You use the PC for a wide variety of purposes, and giving random game kernel level access to that is a huge security risk. MC Braz, what is kernel level access? Do you know what that is? It's getting access to the original recipe at KFC. The Discourse, like, I literally have done no research on Denuvo, and I've heard people just say to me, like, "Oh yeah, it gives the game kernel level, kernel level access." I'm like, you couldn't explain that. Like, you've heard someone else say that. You don't know what that means. Oh, there is sound. I just had the stream muted because I'm silly. All right, what is kernel level access? Kernel level access and what it means for dummies, okay? We're reading a nice Reddit post here. A lot of you folks talk about kernel level access as some kind of buzzword, and others compare Vanguard to user level anti-cheats. User level. Regular user application runs as your user within its permission boundaries of your Windows user in the terms of the file access. Most of us have access to all files on our computer, meaning that also all applications we run have access to all files on your computer. An important topic is memory access. Every application can ask the operating system for memory. The operating system provides a certain slice of memory and the app can work with it. Let's say address 1 to 1000. The app is able to read and write this slice. Another app, like Chrome, might have access to 2000 to 3000 and is able to read to write it. If one app attempts to access the memory space of another application, the OS, aka the kernel, denies the access. This is one of the most important security concepts since lots of applications hold secrets in memory, at least for a short amount of time. E.g., you just typed in your online banking details. For user-level anti-cheat software, it's hard to detect cheats because it cannot monitor what other apps are doing right now. Does someone calculate stuff, a dodge, by analyzing League's video output or similar? It simply cannot know easily. Kernel-level apps completely sidesteps all of the concepts mentioned above. It allows access to every part of memory at once at any given moment of time. As anti-cheat off software is now suddenly very aware which application does what. It is basically a god in terms of monitoring memory. But if there is any security issue with that anti-cheat software, someone can inject code into it. He can read all of the memory. You just typed your online banking password in Chrome, thanks. You opened a password management tool like KeePass, and therefore all your passwords you use are in memory. Guess they're mine. That's why it's bad. Okay? There, we learned what kernel level access means. You know what? So, get me a Denuvo engineer on the phone. Get me a Denuvo engineer right now. Get him in here. I'm gonna ask questions. irdito.com. I'm gonna email him. I'm gonna be like, hey, a lot of people are concerned about Denuvo in their games. I want to give you guys a chance to hey, my name is Seamus. Why would you have hidden text that you can click on? A lot of the community has raised concerns about Denuvo. I would like to hear directly from your company. I'm reaching out to you guys to be able to comment directly. Hello, I'm an online influencer doing research for Denuvo in regards to it being implemented in Civilization 7. A lot of the community for the game have raised concerns about Denuvo. I'm reaching out to you directly for comment. Kind regards. Looking forward to hearing back from you. Would love to hear your response to community concerns around Denuvo and personal security, personal digital security. Piracy protection. And third-party software in the games industry. Kind regards, Potato McWhiskey. Boom. Alright, maybe they'll reply. I gave you... Oh, they don't let me do the meme email. Okay, fine. Let me fix my email. I'm not a robot, damn it. This is my business email. Did they just not accept a Gmail? You're going to make me break out my potatomcwhiskey.org email? Jesus Christ. Hold on. Google Business. Ugh. G Suite? Is that what I was using? Admin console. That's what I'm looking for. Oh, fuck. What was my password for G Suite? Oh, Christ. Hold on. Let him cook. Okay, I think it was this. One, two, three, four. No. I do mine backwards, like 431969. Your mom. Oh, come on! It's got to be this. Come on! Come on! Fuck. Okay, I think my Google Business was deleted. All right, they're not getting an email. Do they have a press? Why won't you accept this? What if I change the email? No, they don't accept a Gmail for some reason. Jesus Christ. Okay, I'm thinking maybe I can cheat the system. Oh, we cheated the system. We inputted a fake email. Easiest. I'm a hacker, dude. I was born to do it. Born hacker. Let's put in a fake email. It's the easiest solution ever. Oh, I'm a genius. Instead of using your cloud as Mr. McWhiskey, I did kingspud at potatomcwhiskey.org, and then at the start of the email, I was like, for some reason you don't allow Gmails to contact this address. The best way to reach out to me is at potatomcwhiskey, blah 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 blah. How are they going to reply? I left my actual response email in the thing. Listen, I'm gonna just say I reached out to Denuvo and they declined to comment. They did not respond. Not my fault. First person to guess what this in chat gets a cookie. It's a triangle. Yes, Andrew. Toblerone. There you go. Call me Ronald. Straight away. You're allowed a cookie now. Unless you're like allergic to them. Then you can have one, but don't tell anyone I told you to do it. Saxophone, Toblerone. If you block all incoming emails, you don't need a customer service department. I think they just block Gmails because gamers will just screech at Denuvo. You got food poisoning last night. I'm scared to eat anything at all. That's because the food you sent down into battle in your stomach needs reinforcement, soldier. You get eaten right now. You didn't know it was a vor stream? I said you get eaten, not get eaten. I said you get eating. But because I'm Irish, we skip the G. Eaten. You get eaten right now, brother. How many Steam achievements do you have in Civ 5? Pfft, I don't even fucking know, bro. You pull that up. Civ 5. Alright. 66. What is he going for? Praise the victories. I don't see it. I didn't look very hard. Is this going to be better than Civ 3? Probably. Vast majority of people don't want to nor care to set up a VM. True. Here's the thing. If Denuvo ever does fuck up, okay, let's say hypothetically Denuvo has a security breach and they leak it. They leak it all, right? They're dropping fucking usernames, bank accounts, everything. That class action lawsuit will be international and will have the throbbing fist of 1 billion sweaty, dirty, angry gamers behind it. Can you, like, the second they fuck up, the fist of Thor will fall from the sky upon them. My guys are skating on melted ice and they don't even know. Oh, can you imagine the class action lawsuit? Ooh. Dude, I would actually, you know what? If I was a developer, I'd be really worried about, like, what does the liability consideration of that look like? You know what I mean? Holy shit. CrowdStrike. Oh my god. It would be like 1 billion sweaty CrowdStrike nerds. What airlines thing? It would be the first time in history that gamers would actually rise up. What was Crowd? Did you know malicious actors manage to abuse Genshin Impact's anti-cheat? That's why I don't play weeb games, bro. That's why I don't play no gacha, no anime. 2 reasons I don't play anime. Number 1, I don't fucking understand it. Number 2, I don't really fucking understand it. What is anime? This is some cartoon shit, right? For dudes like 10,000-year-old dragons or something? I don't know. What if they made an anime 4X game? Listen, dude, I'd play it. I'd fuck with it. It's short for animation. Oh my god, dude. Every time I'm like, someone's like, are you into anime? And I'm like, oh yeah, like I really like anime. Like I like watching Attack on Titan. You know, I'm trying to get into that sailing one. Fuck, what is it called? They had a live action recently. God! Monkey D. Luffy. Why can I not think of the name of this? One Piece. I'm like, oh yeah, like One Piece, like Attack on Titan, and like, and when I was a kid, I really liked Pokemon and Avatar The Last Airbender, and without fail, no matter who this anime fan is, if they're enough of an anime fan, rather than be like, oh cool, I really like those shows too, they'll like unironically just look at me and say like, Avatar The Last Airbender wasn't an anime. And I'll be like, you pedantic fuck. Because the definition of anime is a cartoon made in Japan, and Avatar The Last Airbender was made in like America or Europe or some shit. And I'm like, motherfucker, how dare you? You know what I meant. You know what I meant. This is how you find an anime nerd, right? When someone says to you like, oh, do you watch any anime? Say, yeah, I really like Avatar The Last Airbender. And if they say, oh, that's not a real anime, but you found one, you got one. That's how we'll know. It's like the Zweiglaser of finding anime fucking shitters. I'm sorry. I'll stop swearing now. American anime, King of the Hill. Amazing. Are people more interested in the exploration age or the third age? I'm interested in them all. I want to see more. Ed, and Eddie was such a good anime, dude. Holy shit. Boy, I tell you what. Oh, it's Hank Hill. He's in the chat. Oh, that's actually so genius. The reverse is so good, too. It's like, nah, I really hate anime, but like Avatar The Last Airbender. I just hate all other anime. It's like you hit him up with that reversal. Pow! That's not even anime. Fun fact, the King of the Hill animation team is the same ones that did Avatar The Last Airbender. There are some facts in this world where when they slot into my brain, I'm like, I'm not so sure about that one. And I should check that one. But that shit slid right in there without even an ounce of friction, okay? That's canon in my brain now. That was the same animation. You don't even have to justify that to me. I'm in on that conspiracy. Do you think Era 2 will be the best naval gameplay and Era 3 will drop it for plane stuff? I think Era 2 will be all about exploring a new continent. And Era 2 will be all about new continent. Era 3 will be all about the spicy new weapons of warfare that appear during that time. I love that King of the Hill has a subs versus dubs argument in Japan. Oh my god, that's incredible. We need to start sending cartoons to Japan. We need to hit them back, okay? They've been hitting us hard for like 30 years. It's time to start firing back, boys. We got to get them some anime about living in Dublin City and, I don't know, feeding pigeons or something. They do weird shit over there. Oh, here we go.
Throughout our history, ordinary people have done extraordinary things.
You feel that little trickle of frisson at the back of your neck as you get excited? You feel the excitement, the hype building? Feel that hype.
They inspired movements.
Look at the little ship.
Created the impossible and destroyed the indestructible. Ordinary people chose to change the world, chose to dream, to build, to hope, to always hope.
Oh,
and if
I can feel it
for one of us,
I can feel the hype building.
Now it's your turn to reimagine civilization.
Okay, real quick before the stream starts, there was like a bit.
Build something you believe in.
There was like a bit where like one of the face masks. Okay, I gotta show you this because it's actually important to me emotionally.
Destroy.
The face mask. It looks like those
Just-
memes. You know where they crush
destroy
someone's face into a
the
tiny little thing. Like him, they look like they squished his face with the squish tool in Photoshop. Okay, that's it. Back to the actual stream. Sorry, I just had to
With
say
us
that.
Today we have Andrew Fredrickson, the lead producer of Sid Meier's Civilization 7.
Potion selling.
We also have another Andrew, Dr. Andrew Johnson, our lead historian for Civ 7. Andrew, thanks for coming in. And joining us, the undisputed conqueror of kingdoms, the one who lays waste all before him, Carl, the Carl-Barian Harrison, designer on Civ 7.
Carl.
Awesome.
Carl is
we've
the
got a
driver of the
great,
stream, I believe.
stream for you guys to share today. What I'm excited to tell you is that Civilization 7 is coming out on February 11th on PC and consoles, day and date 2025.
I recognize
that is
Pete.
incredibly cool. We have a great stream to show you today. We've got
I talked to the
leaders
lady
and
on the
civs
left.
to show you. We've got a deep dive on Antiquity, but that is not all.
Oh wait.
We also are going to be showing you guys a sneak peek into an age transition. So moving from Antiquity age into the Exploration age. And not only that, we're going to
There's
be
also the
showing
two
off a little
Andrews.
bit of
One lead
Ashoka
producer,
and
one
Moria
artist,
Civ as
I
well.
think.
We're going to be taking some time to answer some questions live from chat. So definitely ping your questions as you have them. And finally, we are super excited to bring back First Looks. And the first of our First Looks is Hatshepsut.
Remember when we were doing
So
Civ 6
absolutely
first
stick
looks?
around
When
for
all you
the
had was a
first
voice and there was no potato.
All right. Well, we've talked about the Antiquity age, and ages are just a huge part of what makes Civilization 7 different from previous civilizations. So, Andrew Fredrickson, for people who are maybe new to this idea of ages, what do ages bring Civilization 7?
Ages bring so much to the franchise. These are a new way to look at the gameplay, the history that opens up so many opportunities for what we can do with content and features. And we've divided the game up now into these 3 distinct ages. And
Why are they talking like we're in a history class for boomers? Because they're talking to people who don't really engage with online content very often. And they're trying to engage the people who might not know much about civilization and don't understand the decisions behind it. Okay, back 10 seconds and play again.
features. And we've divided the game up now into these 3 distinct ages. And with each one, there's so much to unpack. And we're going to get today to start with the Antiquity age, the first of those. So we'll jump, I think, pretty much right into gameplay. So we got that up on the screen here.
Gameplay.
Carl,
right.
you want to tell people what we're looking at?
Yeah, so here we are at the very start of Antiquity. We're playing as Augustus
Look how
of Rome.
pretty it is.
We're here on
on,
our
I'll make it
map.
bigger.
We have our very first unit, and we're going to start up our civilization and advance a few turns here.
Right, and as a quick disclaimer for everybody watching, just a reminder that this is a work in progress build. Please keep that in mind as we
Me and Carl are
show it off
bros.
to you. We're excited, but just in case we see any funky visuals, keep that in mind. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, so our first unit here is what's called a founder. This is different from our traditional settler unit in that it creates a capital city. All our settler units, which we'll see a little bit later on in the game, now create a town. So the founder is a separate unit from the settler.
I think that's actually just a great moment to highlight how many things in this game are both familiar and new at the same time if you've been playing the franchise for a while. The things that you may see when you first start this is you would expect it to make a city. And like
3
Carl
cities
just
is
walked
a
us
lot.
through, there's some unique differences there. You can see that throughout the entire HUD. We've got
I know it says 0 of 3 cities up there. That's a soft limit. That's how many cities you can have without penalties. You can build more than 3 cities. Right, back 5 seconds and go.
the things that you may see when you first start this is you would expect it to make a city. And like Carl just walked us through, there's some unique differences there. You can see that throughout the entire HUD. We've got our yields in the upper corner, and a lot of those are going to function the way that those of you who played Civ are familiar with. Some of them are new, and others are, like the influence one we're just looking at, others have changed a little bit. Like happiness is going to be something, it's a full yield now, and we're going to get to what that means and how that affects things a little bit later. But I think that just throughout this stream, we're going to start covering as many of those details as we can. There's going to be so much more than what we can talk about. But this is really a
soft limit may as well be a hard limit if it's disadvantageous to go above. Maybe. Because maybe there are reasons you would go above. Maybe you're just about to get a new city limit, so you plop one down a few turns early so you can start working on it. You take a couple turns of penalties. Who gives a damn? But it gets a couple turns to develop it. You know what I mean? There are reasons you might go up to your city limit.
I think that just throughout this stream, we're going to start covering as many of those details as we can. There's going to be so much more than what we can talk about. But this is really going to be a deep dive through all of those.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, why don't we go ahead and start our capital?
Of course, yeah. So I'm going to settle right here in place. We are sitting on a minor river. We have two kinds of rivers in Civilization 7. Minor rivers are sort of what people are used to. It runs through the center of the hex like this. And then we have a navigable river. The minor river flows into this navigable river right here. So we're going to settle right at this transition. Fresh water is still important. It gives a happiness bonus to the settlement. So yeah, we're going to settle right on this. That gives us that happiness bonus.
That was juicy.
And if we zoom out here, we're able to see that we get all
my favorite chipper in Dublin is called
around
Roma.
Those initial tiles. And we're going to start by choosing production. We have no other units. We've just created the settlement and have nothing else. We can see here that our first two
the
choices
UI looks nicer
are a
somehow
scout
at
or
this
a
scale.
warrior, and both of these take only one turn.
Ooh.
And that allows us to pick what unit we want to start with, whether that's a scout or a warrior. It'll finish immediately, and on turn 2 we'll have
The
that
UI's
unit
definitely
ready to
had a
use.
little bit of
So I'm
cleanup
going to
work,
go ahead
it
and
looks
pick a
like. I could
scout
be
here
wrong,
so we
though.
can start exploring the map.
Before we go on, I think this is just a great moment to like talk about the fact that we are living in Antiquity, and I want to give my other Andrew here a moment
It's
to
UI
just
for
talk
consoles,
about
I hate
what
it.
it means to be in this age and what the whole
looks good to me.
encapsulation of that moment in history is.
Yeah, I think for me, when you divide up the gameplay into distinct ages, it allows you to really focus on what's interesting about that point in history, what's interesting about that point in time. And when we look at Antiquity, however you define the time period, we're looking at a point in time when states are not the dominant power or not the dominant influence in the world. You've got states and you have vast areas which are populated. There are people there, but they're not governed and organized in state formations. So Antiquity is a moment where these kinds of the foundations are built. You're building social systems, you're building architecture, you're creating language communities. For instance, Latin and Sanskrit and classical Chinese are these kinds of empire-oriented, centralized languages that are going to get more complicated when we move on into later periods. So having a focus here in the first stage on that kind of building the groundwork, I think lets you kind of play with the
He does have
dynamics.
god tier hand motions.
Absolutely.
He is a
Speaking of
professor,
building groundwork, let's go ahead
so
and
he's
finish
good at
this
talking to
turn. We'll get
people,
our
and
first attack.
he's actually a really passionate and fun guy to talk to.
The radiance of the new world
Oh,
came into being, bathed
agriculture.
in nectar, bathed in love.
So here is
This is
Gwendolyn
Civilization. When
Christie
you
reading
research
out our quotes
agriculture.
now. For those
Turn
of you
one.
who've played a lot of Civilization, you know that when you
Granary.
get into when you unlock a new tech or a new Civic, you get a kind of a quote. And we're really happy to have Gwendolyn Christie reading these.
We love Gwendolyn.
Absolutely. But also, what I think we wanted to do with the quotes here is to bring a sense of gravitas back to these quotes. Sometimes they're directly related to whatever you're researching, and sometimes they're more evocative. And also remembering that the story of civilization is not based in one part of the world. It's a global one. This is from the Priakan.
I would pay like €60 for a Philomena Kunk narration of Civilization 7 expansion. Sorry.
Based in one part of the world. It's a global one. This is from the Priakan inscription in the Angkor complex in Cambodia. And again, talking about the kind of the new growth, birth, something which kind of goes with agriculture and is evocative about that.
All right, Carl, take us away.
Sounds good. So yeah, we've discovered agriculture. That's our very first technology. You are locked into that at the very first turn. And on turn 2 here, we're able to select a new technology. So we're going to open that up. And our choices are sailing, animal husbandry, or pottery.
I think this is a great moment. To
Somebody
talk about,
spam
what you're
in
gonna
the
get from these things.
Civilization
And the
stream
fact
chat that they
I
need
don't have
to-
make the choice right
they need
away.
to
I get a little
change
bit of
the
time to see
scaling.
what's going on in the world.
We can't
and
see
then
the
I get
edges.
to choose what I get to do. And why don't you tell us why we might choose something over something else?
Yeah, absolutely. So the texts this time do not unlock tile improvements for us. Instead, it unlocks the yields for those tile improvements. We're going to see a little bit more about how tile improvements work here in just a moment. But what our initial choice here could be informed by the terrain that's around us, the resources that are around us, and what yields we want to try to focus on first. So I see that we have some sheep nearby. I see that we have some cotton nearby.
The Welsh
so those
are screaming right
pastures
now.
and plantations. So we want to try to find those. On pottery, we have plantations, and on animal husbandry, we have pastures.
I would like those plus resource symbols to, instead of just being a plus resource symbol, be a plus resource symbol related to the improvement. That's definitely a part of the UI that they could improve. I think that is, like, that needs to be a hammer beside a camp and a woodcutter.
I see more sheep than cotton, so I'm going to pick animal husbandry here to try to get that pasture yield.
Awesome.
We also have our new choice of production.
They're doing
our
it.
Scout
They're fixing
finished,
it.
And we'll come back to the scout here in just a moment.
Thank you, Brian.
I am going to lock in a warrior as our next unit to build so that we can get that defense. Exactly. Let me select our scout.
Stand on the sheep.
Before
Do
we
it.
move them, I think this is a great moment to talk about another one of those changes that can be both subtle but also really important. And there's the various terrain types here. And Carl, why don't you talk about how that affects our movement in here?
Yeah, absolutely. So terrain is different than it has been in the past. We now have these rough tiles here that we can see that have this really rocky look to them. And we have vegetated tiles down here. Vegetation is actually different by biome. So we have our forest here, but say if you were in tundra, you would have taiga. So the type of vegetation that you have does change. And then we have wet tiles. So here, this is marsh, which appears in grassland.
AKA
that
your
also
mom
changes
tiles.
by biome type. These are now turn ending. In previous games, in Civ 6, we had these cost a certain amount of movement points from the unit. We can see we still have movement points as a stat on the unit. But rather than each of these terrain types costing a certain number of those points, they end the movement entirely.
I think this is a perfect example of a lot of changes you're going to see in here where we try to take the complexity out, but keeping the interest in.
Absolutely.
And this is actually a really great story was shared with me where this idea of the turn movement ending was actually came from Sid Meier himself.
I like
He
movement
was
ending.
talking
I think that's kind of a
and
cool
we were talking
idea. It
about
reminds
how
me
we
of Civ
wanna,
5. A lot of people didn't like the
adjust
Civ
things.
6
I noticed that
method
your
of
scout
movement.
is moving
This is
through
way
Why
more
is
like
that
Civ
happening
5, and I like it a
easier?
lot.
Yeah, I said it's turn ending, but we actually are able to go straight through this because it's a scout. Scouts are able to ignore those terrain rules, and they're able to move faster and farther through the terrain, which is going to let us explore more of the map. But our warrior that we're going to build...
God, I
that will
love
have
the
to
Fog of
obey those
War
terrain
and the Terra
rules as well.
Incognita. It's beautiful, dude.
I will point out that the minor river is turn ending even for the scout. You can't just cross rivers easily. You do have
Watch
to spend
me.
a turn
I'm gonna
there to
walk
try
on
to
that
get
river.
across that.
Carl.
And of course, on navigable rivers, you will
God, the
embark
game is so
through
gorgeous.
it.
Fucking look at it.
So now we have Grow City. This is another one of those things you were talking about where we've changed it from how it works in the past. No more do we have a worker or builder unit. Now, when it's time for
I
your
miss the
settlement
builder,
to grow,
but I'm okay
you
with it.
get to do this Grow City action, which brings us into a top-down screen, and we're able to select what tile we want to grow into.
Fish the river.
tile improvement is automatically
Which
placed on
tile
the
is he
map,
going to? Which
and
one is
our
he going to
settlement
do?
begins working
He's going to do
that
the
way.
chicken with the happy
I think
face.
it's just a
That's what
huge
he's going to do. The
obviously
chicken with the
we'll
happy
talk
face.
About what the red means a little bit later. There's a lot of import there. But I think being able to just directly
I
control
fucking knew
not
it,
just
Carl.
what you get,
Dude, fish the river. Do it.
which direction your city is growing is a huge change for us. And again, keeping that interesting decision clear and at the forefront.
Yeah, which direction we grow is actually a huge part of this. When you select one of these tiles, you'll actually culture bomb all
Culture bombs
unowned
are back.
tiles around it. So those are acquired by your territory, and your borders will expand. And you have to grow linearly. So we talked about the sheep resource up here. We can also see gypsum
You have
here.
to like build out
We
to
talked
it
about the cotton
instead of
down
culture
here.
expanding
if
your
we want
borders.
these
Really cool.
resources, we have to grow directly to them tile
So you
by
might want that
tile
chicken for the high
and
yield, but you want to get the
expand
cotton
our city
early.
out
So
from
maybe
that
you
city center.
maybe you get
So
the
we have
bad
to
wood
decide
tile so you
here
can get the
what
cotton.
resource we wanna focus
I think
on.
there's a lot of really interesting
We do
strategic
have
decisions
another
for this
sheep
system.
down here.
Rather than having
So
a builder
I wanna
running
try to
around.
go
I mean,
down
I
here
missed the
because
builder,
this
for sure.
Cotton is going to give us 2 food and 2 production when we pick it up. So I want to go for this first, and then later we'll go up and get that the sheep and the gypsum up top.
And
So
obviously, we see the yield icons too, which we're going to earn those as
Yes.
soon as we pick it. We get that improvement, and we get those yields immediately.
we do, yes. Although we have to unlock the improvement tile yield from that tech tree. So picking this will give us a woodcutter, but we have to still unlock our woodcutter yield, which we will do in that tech
I like
tree.
that. That's kind of interesting.
So here we can see that woodcutter got placed down, our borders expanded, and now this cotton is inside
I love
our
Culture Bond.
territory. We own it, but we are not working this yet. We do not have the cotton itself.
Excellent. Let's give that scout some more orders.
Sounds good.
I really love
Cliff.
seeing all the variety in the map, even just for the amount of tiles that are shown right here. I know something that
Look at
our
the cliff.
players have called out, which is really cool to see, is sort of those terrain height differences.
Yes, we can see them right here. I'm not able to move up onto this tile even though I'm next to it, because right here, this is a cliff. And this is an inland cliff. There is, like you said, a terrain height difference right here, and I have to obey that as I move around the map. It's not a mountain. This is a mountain
Elevation.
right here, but next to it, it's
Elevation.
still this rocky escarpment that I
Innovation.
have to circle around.
I think it becomes really interesting for what that means to explore the map and how my ability to explore changes and grows over time.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and when you have the scout with a scout dog and you reach a navigable river, the dogs also embark.
Oh my God, Andrew,
We do have a
stop.
question actually on the scout dog, which we know is
He workshopped
a
that.
vital,
You know
a
he
vital
did.
asked to the scout. Jared from YouTube asks, can we change
He
the
workshopped
scout
that
dogs to
100%.
cats? Vital info needed here.
There isn't a cat that I can recall right now, but there is going to be some
They
fun
embark.
surprises coming for what you can do with different dogs. And,
Did you see the scout
how
ability?
those are
It's so
earned
cool,
and
dude.
unlocked and,
I love the scout ability.
chosen based on who you are.
We love the scout dog here too.
I was having a conversation with Ed at Gamescom, and he was telling me that the cliffs and the highland areas actually interact with a range.
They just straight up copied other games. Lamau, oh my God, dude. When you can find me another 4X game that hits more than 10,000 viewers or players in a single day, you can tell me about Civilization copying other games.
File model that underlies the map gen for Civ, and that actually feeds into how the game generates navigable and minor rivers as well too. So it's just a cool way that interacts with how the world gets built in Civ.
So I did a unique action.
It is so rich to act like they're stealing from other games when they are the ones who set what the game is.
With our scout here, we have a few new actions with our recon units. So first we have lookout. This allows us to place a watchtower where the scout is, and it increases our sight range by 1. It will sleep the unit, so it'll just stay there on that tile, acting as that lookout, letting us see more of the terrain. This is really great for keeping an eye on enemies or particularly areas of interest. And then we have search.
Yeah, dude, the Beatles, they were like totally stealing from like those musicians that came before them. You know what I mean? Like they completely straight up copied them and stole from them.
Search does the same thing. It increases your sight range by 1, but this lasts for only 1 turn, and it reveals all discoveries within the range that you are able to see. Discoveries are our new goodie huts, and there's a variety of types of them. We have revealed 2 with this action. Over here, we have wreckage.
Jump on it.
And then here,
A ruin.
we have ruins. There it is. I was looking for it, and it was at the very bottom. It's ruins. So we're going to grab this wreckage first.
You grab that wreckage,
and then
Carl.
we're going to go over to those ruins.
Search that
and
wreckage.
pick that up.
Get some money.
Another great example of a
Wait.
change we're going to see right
I'm
here.
covering up
Yes.
Carl.
So Andrew, do you want to talk to us a little bit about what we see here?
So this is the discovery system again.
Andrew,
This gives
Andrew,
you a
say-
little bit of
Say naughty things, Andrew.
a small
And little
story
devil on his
that's
shoulder.
attached to these places on the map. In addition, there's other narrative events that may come up based upon certain decisions that you make in the game, certain actions that you make, who you are and who you're playing and how you're playing. So expect a little bit more.
I just love getting them because not only are they awesome things to see on the map, make it fun to move around, but it's like you were talking about, like really enshrining what it means to be in Antiquity. These are stories, these are experiences that people, might have had that let me, understand what was going on there. And it's got the gameplay choice here for me as well. So which Carl, I'm sure, will make the best possible choice.
I hope so. So we do have 2 choices here. We found a campfire that some soldiers have abandoned, and we can either take the supplies or demolish the camp and erect a banner in this location. That will give us 2 different yields. If we take the supplies, we will get 50 gold. If we demolish the camp, we will get 50 happiness towards the next celebration.
Do the
We'll talk a
celebration.
little bit more about what
Make a
celebrations
banner.
are and what they do.
You're not a
later on.
country unless you have a
I
flag.
think I'm going to take the gold. Early gold is very strong, lets you do a lot of different things, so I'm going to take those supplies.
Speaking of gold, we have a lot of questions from chat asking about economic victories, how
Ooh,
economics
cotton.
work in the game. Can we speak a
We got
little
the
bit
cotton.
to that?
Oh boy, that's
It's a big question.
It's a big question. I think that we can talk a little bit about it, but the biggest spot is going to
caged
be a little bit
bird.
later when we get to talk
Animal
more about the legacy
husbandry.
paths
What about
and the
animal
victories, but,
wifery?
rest assured that the economic gameplay is definitely an area where we've expanded quite a bit and giving you a lot of things, and again, making that gameplay relevant and different for each age.
Absolutely.
And I think we'll show off a little bit of,
Yep.
of trading too. In
We're
this
going to get
live
to some
stream.
trading. We'll get to some legacy paths about that as well.
Trying to find a good place to
You want to talk
go.
about this quote?
Yeah, this is just Kobayashi's. It's part of a haiku there. That is just. I believe it's haiku. I mean, I'm not sure exactly, but it's the idea of imagining the perspective of a domestic animal looking outside and seeing what else is out there, what other lives are there. It also goes along with the era as well. Again, this is a place where, in many places, it was healthier and more free to be outside of states, and here we are playing the kind of expansion of agriculture and militarism and hierarchy out into the land, kind of forever altering the world. I think one of the things also in terms of like the wreckage bits that you found up there, and maybe some other things that you'll discover soon, is that this idea of those blank spaces on the map are not blank. That we were to imagine that they're also inhabited. They're lived in by people. Yeah.
Other people that are inhabiting
Right.
the space. All right, so I think for our next piece of production here, we're going to go ahead and make a granary. The granary will improve
First building,
our
boys.
farms, pastures, and plantations. This does put the yield directly onto those tile improvements, onto the map itself. The saw pit will improve camps and woodcutters. We do have a woodcutter right now, but we also have a plantation. And the granary, because it's going to improve pastures, is going to help both the plantation and the pasture that we put on those sheep. So I think this is going to be our first building. When we create a building, we create a new urban district. If we are selecting a new tile, each district can hold
My
up
hot
to
take is
2
you should put
buildings.
the
So I could
granary
put it
on the
into
lumber
our city
camp
center
so you
here.
can
We have a
move
palace in
the
city center, so
population
that's one
towards the
building. It
sheep
can
and
hold
get
up
the
to
sheep
one
sooner.
other building.
That's my
Go
hot
ahead and
take.
start so we can show the people what that looks like.
Yeah, so if I select this, we can see where I'm able to place this. I can't place it onto the navigable river because that is technically a water
You look
tile.
like Pedro
and this building
Pascal?
does not
That's what
go
your mom
on
says.
water. If I were to place it into any one of these tiles here, it would create a new urban district. We would then lose access to that land. We can't put any tile improvements there. Those are on rural tiles only. So when we create a new tile improvement, like we did here with the woodcutter and here with the plantation, that creates a rural district that has a tile improvement on it.
I think what's great to note is that we see in the different colors here, not only, so we can, like you said, we can expand with it where we already have, we can
Yes.
grow to a new area. We can even, if we decided down the road that we wanted to urbanize and take that woodcutter out, we could eventually put buildings here. Probably don't want to do that quite so early, but it is important to note that you can take
Do
those
it.
things
Do
over.
it, Carl.
Well, and
Crush
what
it.
happens when you take those over is you actually get that population to move someplace else. So you're telling the people who are working that woodcutter, hey, I need you to go do something
3
else.
tile limit
And
radius
then
J
they
and
can
R.
go and relocate
It's really
themselves
deeply
to a
baked
new
into the
tile,
code
even a
base
new
that they
type of tile
used to
improvement.
build
So like I
Civ
said, go make
7.
a farm,
Right.
go make a pasture.
It's a great way to see how things are built.
Civilization
in
7 is
sequence and
basically
layer, and as you grow and as your needs
a
change,
stripped
you can
down
change.
core
Yes.
mechanics of Civ
And
6
actually,
rebuilt,
Secret
and
Tax
Civ
from
6 was
Twitch
a stripped down
asks,
core
do you
mechanics of
lose the
Civ 5.
tile yields
And so
for
there's some
building
stuff
an
just
urban
like basically
district?
built into the
You
engine
lose
that they're
the
using.
natural tile yields. So natural tile yields do not continue to remain
If I recall correctly.
on
That
a
might-
tile
I
with
don't
an
remember,
urban
though.
district. They go away completely. If I were to build on top of this woodcutter, we can see on this tile tooltip here, we have 1 food and 1 production. And it's notable that that production comes from having discovered animal husbandry. That's the woodcutter yield. So we unlocked that, and now this is giving us that production. That would go away. We would never have access to that again. Instead, we would have access to the building yields that we're adding here, which with this granary is 2 food. I am going to put this up here.
Yes.
And the reason that
That's
I'm
also a
selecting
base
this
move.
particular tile is because buildings and new urban districts function similarly to new rural districts in that they culture bomb surrounding tiles. And when you add a new rural district, a new tile improvement, you are able to extend it off of any tile that the city already is working. Not just owns, but is working. So that's the urban and the rural districts.
Awesome.
So if I build this here, once it completes...
Rural versus
we will
urban
then
is
be
very
able to
old
grow
world. It reminds me of old
directly
world. I think it's
onto
cool that the
sheep tile and then
industry has
directly
innovated
onto
in
the
that sort of
gypsum
direction.
tile.
It always
And
has,
that
kind
will
of.
allow us to grab those
But it's an
resources
interesting way that it has been
Just
innovating.
for anybody who's not familiar from Civ 6, the concept of culture bombing is where you expand your borders and it grabs adjacent tiles
Yes.
as well too.
Thank you, Pete.
Yeah.
More like cultured
We're all
basing.
used to calling it that. And
There's
I know-
so many terms and changes. It's hard to keep track of.
It's
what
an
we
it's
have
an
to explain.
aggressive
Oh,
independent
this
people.
is great. So we met somebody on the map here. Can you pull out a little bit so we can see what we see? So this one.
Yeah, that
this
tooltip
is
needs a little work.
A scout, but this
It's-
isn't.
it
just,
has all the information, it's just
a
not pretty.
barbarian. This isn't just another civ. We've added this increased, possibility space to what you find. Like Andrew mentioned, with the discoveries, there's a story
Yeah,
there.
I really
It's
love
a
the district
lived-in
expansions
place.
in Endless
These are
Legend, and
people who
I'm
live in
really
this
glad that
world.
more games are
And
kind of
these
pushing the
ones happen
direction
to be
of
hostile. We got that
Endless
red
Legends
ring around
innovations.
them. We got to watch out for
I'm
them.
sad that humankind kind of
but
missed the mark
We
on
don't necessarily
taking the
only
next step.
have to fight them. These aren't just like in Civ 6 we had barbarians, and the only way to deal with them was combat. We could fight them, or we could have some other involvement. And I think that Carl's going to try and find where they're from on the map.
This is
and
one of
then
my
we'll see
favorite
what some
features of
those
Civ 7.
Additional
Barbarians and
interactions look
independent
like.
peoples have been combined into a single system, and
hopefully
it's
they won't attack
amazing.
us.
Oh yeah. Well, you got the warriors now.
We do
so-
have the warriors, but you know what? I want to keep exploring with the warriors. So we've got our scout moving to the north. I'm going to send our warrior to the south, and then we might be able to find some more things down here. We want to try to grab as many of those discoveries as we can. That'll give us early yield, and that's always a good thing.
Speaking of discoveries, I do have a question from Tom's from YouTube. He asks, will Eureka's be in the game?
That is a great question. We do not have Eurekas in the game or inspirations.
I will miss
those,
Eurekas.
Function a little bit differently than they have in the past. We still have some of those goals, but we don't have them give the boost of science
Eurekas
or
and inspirations
culture
were
that
awesome.
they have from Civ 6.
I think you'll see that some of the other systems, like with the discovery system and the stories that pop up, there's it's a different way to scratch some of that gameplay itch.
The font on kerning help people with
Right, a little more like of a narrative kind of approach
dyslexia.
with some of
I think it would be
these
nice if that was an option rather
discoveries,
than
so to speak,
for everyone.
that players will
I'm
recognize,
always,
but it's taken
I'm always
another
happy with
form.
disability options.
So here we have our first civic. Like we are locked into our first tech at the very start of the game with agriculture, our first civic is also locked in with chiefdom. It just takes a little bit longer to unlock. Civics unlock social policies, which are a card-based system that our veteran players will be familiar with. Here we get two social policies. We have charismatic leader, which will give us culture, and we have tool making, which will give us production and science. I'm not going to go straight into change policies yet. I'm going to back us out here. And we're going to go to a different screen first. We're going to select what government we want. So if I select what government to choose from, we
Ooh.
get these three options: classical republic, despotism,
I would do
and
oligarchy. Oligarchy seems so much
this
better
is a
to
great
use for tempo.
chance to talk about another one of those changes where we're still making a government choice, but it's decoupled from some of the things it was tied to in the past. You see, here we're talking about a celebration, which is something we sort of hinted at a little bit
Eurekas
earlier.
didn't get too optimized,
and this is going to be
unless the tree was
a
randomized.
significant change. The happiness
And the
yield,
Eurekas should have
in
been
addition to
randomized
a
too.
few other things, we'll keep talking about that one coming back to it. But here, as your excess happiness is going to certainly build your civilization to having a celebration when you reach a threshold, and based on what government you have, you're going to get to choose how do you what happens in your city. How do
Dude,
your
oligarchy
people
is
celebrate?
so good. I mean,
in a classical
I would
republic,
probably pick
are you
classical
getting
republic
the
'cause I
culture,
love
are you going
culture
for
and
the
building
production
wonders.
on wonders. And despotism, is it the science, or are you going for infantry? So choosing this is really about choosing what you
There are
want
policy
available
cards,
to
just
you
they
later
happen
as
later.
you have those moments.
I think we're going with classical republic.
Rome, a classical republic?
Indeed.
Shocking.
Oligarchy,
So we got a
bro.
question
Should have
from
gone for
Georgie
oligarchy.
Antiquin on YouTube, and Andrew Johnson, Dr. Johnson, this is one for you. Is cultural progression in Civ 7 based on real-life civilization transformations?
Cultural progression meaning
Moving
that-
through the culture tree.
moving. In a sense, it sort of is taking. I mean, to get any kind of causality when we're talking about,
Thousands of years.
the development or we're talking about changes in society. We see more change and alteration, and not really a kind of evolution. Whereas a civics tree and a tech tree and something like Civ has kind of an evolutionary model where things get kind of increasingly something or other. But I think here, instead, we're thinking about the
Look at that
points
water,
in
dude.
that age.
God, I just want to play it.
We look
I
at
just
the
wanna
age
play
as a
it
whole.
so
What are the
bad.
inflection
I just want to play it.
points
I just want to play it,
within
man.
a particular society or various societies in there? And especially for civics, we're talking about the development of statecraft, of forms of government, as well as other forms of sort of artistic expression, social life. So here, we're looking at military discipline on one hand, the idea
wanna
of a
play it
professional
more.
army. We see this developing some places, Assyria in a big way, versus mysticism, which is a little bit more of a general term for organized religion, or the beginnings of organized religion. But also, what else we got there, Carl?
So we have some unique civics. These are unique to Rome.
Rome.
Once you complete chiefdom, you do unlock a Civ unique civics tree. This has additional abilities for your Civ that allow you to continue to power up your civilization's ability.
Temple of
as
Jupiter
you
looks
continue to
insane.
progress through the age. This is also where you get your unique infrastructure. Here we see Temple of Jupiter and the Basilica, both of which are
Okay,
unique
Basilica looks
buildings
eh.
for Rome. We get a lot of stuff from this tree. We are going to pick some of these later, but the first thing that I want to do is pick discipline, because discipline will give us our army commander. Army commanders are a brand new unit to Civ
I love
7.
it when
We are
techs
gonna
give you
talk
free
more about
stuff.
them
I think
here
that's a
in
really
moment
cool
once we
addition,
have one
because
to show off.
when that free
But this
stuff
will give us
comes,
our
it
Legatus.
becomes a part of the decision-making
Legatus
process.
is a unique commander for Rome, one of our 2 unique units, and it does some really cool things. So the earlier we get it, the better. I'm going to lock in discipline as our civic choice.
I do want to just say, I think just to go back to that question you had, I think it is really great to say that because of these 2 trees, it gives us 2 different ways to look at the history, like about these people and about the world. And I think that when we're looking at that sort of shared civic history for the age, like you said, we see the things that were more
I think
common,
simplifying
or more
Civ 7
generalized,
a
and
little
then we
bit
see the things that are
is good,
very
because it allows
Roman.
them to build
And
complexity
those
into
are
new
things where
systems as the game
narrative team and
ages.
the design team work together to find stuff that has
Like how
such
your
an
mom
identity
became more complex
that you
as
feel
she
more
aged.
Rome when you're picking those things. You get to see what that was at that height in history.
Yeah, and I mean, for Rome-specific questions, Carl has a degree
God, the game is
in
beautiful.
classics.
Classical culture.
Classical culture.
Yep.
So I'll defer to Carl on
Thank you.
Latin things.
Yeah, it was great to be able to, put that to use to make Rome, to make all of the different antiquity civilizations that we have, and it was a lot of fun.
Carl has more depth than just being the barbarian.
True.
He's got some historical
Carl
depth
has
to him.
mega depth.
Like everything around here, there's layers.
There are layers.
Exactly.
We do have a new narrative choice available, so I'm going to go ahead and click that, and we'll see what we have here. So this is a Roman unique story. So the Senate is in session. The voices are raised in conflict. A lone senator speaks out against imperial fiat, while Augustus's supporters seek to drown him out. So we have a few different choices here. The first 2 of these will give us a quest. This is kind of like what I was talking about earlier with the question about Eureka's and inspirations. So we do still have some of these kinds of goals that can appear. We can either choose to build 3 monuments, which will give us culture,
That's really
or
interesting.
we can choose to have a commander that gets 3 promotions, and that will give us plus 15% production towards training infantry units. Or we can choose to not have a quest and then one of those goals and just back out of this and get 33 gold.
And something like this too
I wanna do
allows
the
you
quest.
to kind of role play a little bit too. In that,
Yeah.
build 3 monuments. What does that mean? That means have
Lots of
multiple
culture.
cities. Yeah, well, also spread out, have multiple cities.
Yes.
So this can also be thought of as a choice between having a decentered, more expansive society versus doubling down on the army, which is something that Romans generally did not do. Is that right, Carl?
I think that it depends on what period of Rome you are looking at.
So you're Augustus.
So Augustus is actually really interesting. We do have decoupled civs and leaders this time. You can have any leader lead any civilization.
Really cool, by
And
the way.
Augustus himself, we do not have set up to be a militaristic leader. Augustus is set up to be an expansionist leader, and he's all about having lots of towns to support a very strong capital. And that's because Augustus founded the Pax Romana, which is a period of peace around the Mediterranean that lasted around 200 years, and it began with his reign. Not that he didn't do any conquering, but he had this big expansionist period where he had lots of provinces, founded lots of new settlements, and that's the part of Augustus that I wanted to focus on. Whereas with Rome, Rome is a conqueror. Rome is a military civ. They have some really strong military units. They have this unique army commander. And so when you pair those two things together, you get sort of this really interesting examination of what Rome was over the course of its entire history.
So in a way, this story allows you to kind of pick, okay, what kind of Rome are we focusing on? Are we focusing on Republic? Are we focusing on Empire? Or do we just not care and want money? And that's the third.
Exactly.
And one of our players asked the question, faculties intact from Twitch. Are these choices because of playing Augustus, or are these choices because of playing Rome?
So you're probably better able to answer that than I am.
This is going to be playing.
This whole
Augustus.
this is because you're Augustus.
Yeah.
This story is because you're Augustus.
Right.
So it's not that the choices are so much.
So
It's that
an
this whole story is
Augustus.
Augustus's story.
Right.
How do you want to lead into that? Versus if you had
So it's
picked,
not
even if you were still
civ-based,
Rome, but if
it's
you had picked a
leader-based.
different leader, you
Interesting.
would have that leader's
Maybe
story
both?
coming up.
You might, and sometimes there's combinations. Sometimes it triggers if you are Augustus and Rome. Sometimes the triggers might be more hidden or complex than just simply you are this or you are that. Yeah.
That's what makes them available, and not that it's always guaranteed. Yeah,
Of course.
I want to know what Carl's going to pick. I'm dying here.
Yeah, sorry. So because we are going for discipline as our first civic, and we're trying to get that legatus as early as possible, I want to try to go ahead and give it promotions, and
Leader
I think we're going
chain,
to go with only the
1020.
strength and loyalty of the army matters. It's right up
Carl
my
Barron.
alley.
You
Yeah.
can give Carl a degree in classics, but the warlord will win in the end.
you can take Carl to university. But.
Yeah. All right.
All
All right,
right,
so we have command
Okay.
units.
For the
Let's keep moving this this scout.
Show us
We're
more
trying to get
map.
these ruins over here. So
Get
we're
some
going to
You
move
exploration.
love the way
on.
the UI looks.
And
don't love
this is another cliff where we can't go straight down. So I'm going to use this opportunity to try to search again. We're going to reveal
Do a
some
little
more
search.
land around us and see.
I
what
love
other
the search
discoveries might
ability.
be
It's so
nearby.
cool. Boom.
So no new discoveries besides what we had already revealed, but
But
we
we do see a path. We also see a path around if we want to get
do
there.
see a path around now that we didn't have to move all the way over there to see. We're able to see that there are no other independent units, hostile units nearby, no other civilization units nearby. We have a much better grasp of the lay of the land without having to go move to every single one of those
Absolutely
points.
one of my favorite things to do early on is
Yeah.
just start using that ability. Head down the coast here, and again, you're trying
Inefficient
stopping
scouting
on
pattern,
that
Carl.
river
Yep, the river ends that
for any
movement.
movement. All right.
We met someone.
Trash player. Get him. Get him, chat. No, I'm just kidding. We love
हम
Carl.
अशोक ही संसार के मध्य बिंदु के एगो महान राजा और एगो महान पापी
Did they improve Augustus? He looks better.
Right here, we'll sit for just a second and start talking a little bit about our new diplomacy system because there's so much going on here.
The items aren't wiggling in
Some
their
of it
hands
you may have
anymore.
picked up,
They
some
fixed
of
it.
You've seen, but when we meet a leader now, it's not just hi. This is a hi, and a little bit about how I want to approach them. And on top of that, we get to
Augustus
talk
does look
about our
better.
influence here. So you've always got the ability to have a neutral greeting. That's just sort of the traditional, hey, we've met. But now you can sort of, how do I want to approach this leader? Based on who they are, based on how I'm planning to play this game, I can decide from the very
I
beginning.
still don't like
what
this,
foot do we want to start off on? And
side
then
by
I'm going to have to
side
use my influence,
talking
which is
screen.
that
I
new,
much prefer it when the
yield
leader
for our
talks to me.
diplomatic system. That's going to it's an opportunity cost. I can choose to go this way or that way, but down the road, I'm not going to have that diplo for other things. So I don't know if we've already got a plane here, Carl, but you
I feel like Carl's getting as a character.
Actually, before we jump in, who did we meet?
So this is Ashoka, the one of the probably one of the more famous emperors in Indian history, and of the Moria dynasty. And we will see the Moria is also a playable civ.
Kin.
Ashoka here is playing Moria. His lines here, a lot of these will reflect either actual things that the individual said. In this case, Ashoka's story, the part of the character that we're leading on is this moment in Ashoka's life where he is engaged in a military campaign, achieves dramatic success and slaughters his enemies, and then suddenly realizes that he may have done something wrong. He converts to Buddhism and begins to spread Buddhism all across northern India, and is attributed, his model of kingship is also attributed to parts of Southeast Asia as well, though the historicity of that is...
Okay, we're just going to hide
And
that for now.
We're also going to show up more of Ashoka
Yeah.
in this stream as well, which is exciting. I just want to take a moment to call out
it working
the
now?
awesome soundtrack of the game. I do have a question. I didn't know, Andrew, you've got a lot to say about the soundtrack, which is awesome. Magistat from YouTube asks, will each civilization have their own soundtrack, and do they mix together with others as the ages progress? So maybe we can answer that and then just speak to the soundtrack.
I'm going to hide it
as
because
a
it's been
whole
weird.
as well.
Yeah, every civ has its own theme, right? And so what we're hearing right now, as we meet Moria, we're hearing Moria's theme. And I get excited about this one, just because it touches upon, other lives that I have. But it's a Indian style music. It has, though, within it, it's in Pali is the language here. It's a Buddhist chant. Buddham Sharanam Katsani. I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dhamma. I take refuge in the Sangha. So it fits so well a feeling of South Asian Buddhism. That feels very Ashoka to me, and I like the leader theme. The music for Civ 6 was fantastic, and I think if you liked that, you will like this as well.
Yeah.
So Andrew actually posted a really wonderful message in our internal message board the other day, thanking the music team for their work on this and sharing that story with everybody. So that's part of the fun of working on a Civ game is, seeing people's connection to it kind of get excited in the course of this. All right, Carl, go ahead and make your choice.
If you're wondering why the historian Andrew Johnson is so passionate about this, he is literally, this is his field of study. He is a professor in this area of history. This is the thing he went to academia for. That's why he's so passionate talking about it. Why are you saying it's like he's smelling his own... Listen, dude. Why are we acting like people being excited and passionate about something is cringe? Stop, you're being cringe.
We'll move on from here.
I do before. You're going to point something out too, but I also want to call out to our art team, just the experience of being able to see the two leaders together, and as we go through, you'll get to see the reaction as Carl decides how he feels about Ashoka, or at least how his Augustus feels about Ashoka. We get to see that play out from both of them.
Sure, yeah. I am actually going to pick friendly greeting here, and that's because I want us to show off some of the diplomacy options that we have in the game. And by picking friendly, we might be able to foster that relationship some, show what we can do with influence. We'll have other opportunities to attack people. I'm not worried about that. So we're going to start with friendly greeting and see what that does.
Spending a little bit of our
based on the influence cost, I assume they're playing on a faster game speed.
I'm worried about
Well,
it.
it's Augustus, not Carl.
Okay.
Because I would.
So now we're taking
they're playing
into
on quick speed
our
for sure.
diplomacy screen with Ashoka. So we can do open borders. We can do our normal denounce military presence when they're near our borders. We have a series of endeavors here.
I'm gonna speed up so we can catch up with the stream.
The leader that we're playing.
People keep saying
and
dumb
the
shit in chat.
attributes that they have. We'll talk more about attributes later on. Right now we can do cultural exchange, and this will grant additional culture to each leader. I'm the one proposing it, so if he just accepts it, I'll get 4 culture per turn, and Ashoka will get 2 culture per turn. He can also choose to support it, which forces him to spend some influence and say, hey, this is something we want to do together. We're going to do this in the spirit of cooperation. That increases the yield for both leaders, so we'll both get 6 culture per turn, and that'll last for 10 turns. He can also choose to reject this, and he has to spend influence in order to do that. Accepting is the only option that is free. If he rejects it, it hurts our relationship, and I don't get anything. Neither one of us gets anything.
And I think this is a great moment to highlight that our diplomatic system, in addition to having the new yield, is much more about these actions, these endeavors and sanctions, and pushing my relationship with the leaders up or down, or capitalizing on the relationship that I've already built. It's not just a deal table. We don't have a deal table where you're just passing resources or money back and forth. This is much more about the dynamic interactions between the two of them.
And this list of actions is going to expand as you research more, right?
It will expand, and we have some other things down at the bottom here that we're going to take a look at later on. We're going to start with his cultural exchange and see whether he accepts it, supports it, or rejects it. So he's supported, he spent influence in order to support it, and we both are now getting 6 culture per turn, which will update on our top R yields here in a moment.
And we got a quick question.
Awesome.
From
That's
chat.
like a 50%.
Vector asks, does the influence
culture
get
boost.
refunded if the other side refuses the offer?
I believe so. I do not specifically recall off the top of my head.
I believe that's correct.
I believe that's correct. I believe you get your influence back.
Oh, you
do not,
shouldn't
however,
get it back.
Their influence. So when they spend influence to reject it, you don't get that, but you do get yours.
You should
what you
lose
spent
influence.
So the
That
other thing
sucks
that
if you don't.
accepting, or excuse me, that doing a friendly relationship greeting with Ashoka did is it revealed his capital to us. So if we pan up here on the map, we are able to see that settlement location now.
Because
and we
I
have an
spent
idea of
money
where they are on the map.
to
And that
block
revealed
the deal.
both capitals. So now he
So
has
you should
the same
lose too.
visibility on us
I
and
know.
knows where we are on the map.
Excellent.
We'll be able to show more of the different architecture of another civilization when we load into a later save.
Yes.
A chicken. He got a chicken.
So, Carl, what do you think? Do you think we should load into that later save? See the end of Antiquity?
Yeah, I
here?
think it's a decent time to do that.
Okay.
As just, I saw you put down the farm there. I think the animations in this are so cool. There's always something going on,
Yeah.
And your founder's goat is jumping around, and
Yeah.
the chickens are flapping, and
I want to see some of those military unit animations
Yeah.
when we get
I know
into
we're
the
really
save.
excited to see exactly how commanders manage to pack armies in. Contrary to some popular belief, it is not, in fact, ingesting them and carrying them around.
Correct. And then when they unpack, they're not physically spitting the units out onto the map. It's more of a deployment.
Yeah, it's more
No,
of a
they eat
military
them.
strategy. not
They
a-
eat them. They
While
eat
we're
them.
loading into that next save, I know
And then
something
when they
that
let them out,
our
it's
players
like,
have been dying to hear
bloop.
more about. It's just what happens on the other side of the map, right? When you start in Antiquity, what's kind of going on during that fog of war? We're going to be speaking to him more in exploration.
Kirby
but is there
leader.
anything
Oh my
that
God,
gives-
Kirby
Yeah,
leads
that other side of the
Dreamland
map
in
is real, and it's
Civilization
there, and those
7.
civilizations are growing and developing on their very own. You won't interact with them directly, but because it is the same game world, they're building what you're going to end up dealing with later, or interacting with, I should say. And they may even beat you out for a wonder. I think it's happened to Carl earlier.
Yeah, it can happen, yeah.
All right, so here we are at Rome, later on in Antiquity. What are we looking at here?
All right, so yeah, we are much later on. We have our city built up a lot more. We have a bunch of other settlements
Ooh,
around too.
I love the way the
Here we
cities look,
have,
dude. Look at that.
Rome, the capital. We have walls around a couple of our districts. We do build walls
Beautiful.
district by district now, urban tile by urban tile.
So cool.
And that adds defenses
wall
to that
building
tile.
is
So when you try
amazing.
to capture a settlement, you have to occupy each of those defended districts, the districts with walls.
You have to occupy each
we
wall
also
district to
have our
capture a
unique
city.
quarter. So when you have a civilization with unique buildings, a civ with unique buildings gets 2 buildings.
This right here is one of my
you
favorite
can place
features.
those in different tiles if you want to. Each building does have different adjacency yields. Those are on the buildings themselves now. And so you might want to place the building separate to try to maximize the yields that you're getting if you have a particularly good spot for one of them. But if you put them together into the same tile, it creates this unique quarter, and that has an additional effect that is different for every single civ, is different for every single quarter, and it powers you up in some really interesting and cool way. For Rome, it gives you +1 culture and gold for every single tradition, which is a special type of social policy that you have equipped in your government. So we have built our forum here. It also adds additional art to the tile, so we have this really cool center plaza section that represents the Roman Forum that gets added to this when we put them both into the same tile.
Interesting.
We have a few other things going on. If we pan around our map, we have some
Reminds me of
towns.
legacy
We talked about
bonuses
towns
from
earlier. When a settlement
Humankind,
settler
but done
creates
slightly
a new
differently.
settlement, it starts as a town. Towns collect all of the yields around them, and any production that they collect gets converted into gold.
Right.
It does not stay as production. Towns don't produce buildings for themselves. Instead, they can purchase buildings, but they can only purchase certain ones. Not every single building that a city can build is available in a town. So we're going to...
This is just a great example of finding that fun and that interest. Is like sometimes you want to get bigger, but you don't necessarily want to manage all those production queues. If you want them, you can convert a town into a city by paying for it. But there's a few other things you can do. You can actually specialize a town, and with that, you're going to be able to choose a more specific use for the yields. Carl's got one right here.
Yeah, so that was actually a city. I panned the very first thing. I was like, this is a town. It was not a town.
That's all right.
That was a city. This is a town. So when we open this up, we can see that the list of buildings that we have here is different than what was available in that city. So we have a couple of different buildings on this. We can still purchase our units with the gold that we have available, and then this is the focus that we're talking about. So right now we're dedicated to growing this town, and once the town has reached 7 population, we are able to select a different focus for it. So when we open this up, we can see there's a list of these that we can choose from. Each one has a different effect, and allows us to commit this town for the rest of the age
farming
to doing
town,
one of
mining
these
town.
things.
That's all
So
really
when we
cool.
select farming town, for example, we'll increase all of the food that this town is producing, and that food then goes back to connected cities. We can see that right up here. They send 100% of that food to all of your other cities, allowing your cities to grow and get really tall. And tall cities are really interesting, and we'll take a look at a tall city here in just a moment and see what that means. So let's go ahead and lock that in. This
If
does
the
make
game
this,
music is too
locked for
loud,
the rest
just
of the age.
shout
We
at
can send
them.
it back to growing itself if we want to. It will
In
continue to grow
the
on its own if we want to have it do
stream
that.
or Twitch
But I
stream or
think
whatever.
switching this.
And Carl, are those kind of the 160, the hundreds kind of numbers that we saw there, those are turns or gold? Chat wants clarification.
Yes, so that is gold. That is one of those in-progress build things that you mentioned earlier. So those are gold numbers. It's just using the wrong icon.
Got it. And I do have another question from Twitch. Scath asks, at the top left, there seems to be a city icon with it showing 1/3 after we initially founded our capital city. Are we limited in city count?
That is
during
a
the ages?
great question.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
about to talk about it. So
Amazing.
we'll hold on to that for just a few more moments. We'll come down here and we're going to take a look at this unique Legatus that we talked about right away early on. We discovered discipline. Obviously, we've got our Legatus. And we can see that this has a 4 on it. That's the level of this commander, which is the number of promotions that it is.
Look at him, he's
available to
eating some
choose. You
units.
can
They're
bank
inside him.
promotions if you want. You don't have to choose right away. The level still increases, but we have assigned all of these promotions.
Roads
We can
are
go
built
ahead and jump in
automatically,
and take a look at what
if I
those
recall
are. So when
correctly.
we open our commander promotions, we can see that there's a series of promotion trees for us to pick from. This allows us to specialize our commanders in a variety of different ways. Bastion is all about defense. Assault
Unit
is all
Vor.
about offense. Logistics is all about different things that your commander is able to do around the map. Maneuver is about moving your commander and your troops. And then leadership is focusing on the commander itself and making it the best commander it can possibly be.
So not necessarily just about leading troops. Some of these are about
Other things, yeah. So if we take a look at this leadership tree, the very first one that we've unlocked here is Zeal. So when we station this commander in a district, which is place it there, just have it occupy that district, it'll increase all the yields in that settlement by 5%. So this is more of a peacetime thing. This guy is not necessarily out in the field doing a lot of combat. I have him back at
The
home. This pairs
greed.
very well with Bastion, which is why we put these two together here. And so it's like if I get attacked, I'm defending it really well, and in the meantime, I'm boosting my settlement.
I think one thing that's really important for people who haven't made
Does
it
this
to
stack?
previously is that your commanders are your only units that gain experience points.
Does this
so you're
stack?
not gaining it with every
Ask
combat,
them.
every unit on the map.
Question
It's
from
now
Potato.
centralized,
Does
so you
this
have
stack?
less to manage, but at the same time, these bonuses, obviously depending on which one it is, but most of them for the combat affect not the commander, but all the troops around it.
Yes.
They have an area of effect, so you don't have to worry about leveling up one unit and losing
extra
it. And that one's
combat
gone. You can bring
defense?
reinforcements in, and they will immediately be brought up to speed because they're part of that army
Yep.
that this commander is providing all of their bonuses to.
And I saw in chat people asking if you can lose a commander. You can, which is devastating.
You can. You can get it back. They will respawn. There's a certain amount of time that passes before the commander will respawn, and there is a promotion that decreases the amount of time it takes for your commander to respawn. If you want to make your commander really good, that's the way to go for it. But yeah, you want to target those commanders first when you see them out in the field, particularly if that level number is really high, because it means that they're buffing all of those units around them, and they're a big threat. So if you off those commanders, if you defeat them, it weakens everything else around them. So here we can see a really good example of that. The first Bastion promotion, Steadfast, gives a +2 combat strength to all the land units around the commander when they are defending.
Really good.
So this does not help my attack. This helps when I get attacked.
Keeps your units
the
alive.
command radius at start is 1 tile. So we can actually see this when we select the commander. The movement here is a blue outline. The command radius is this white outline. So all units that are in these 6 hexes around the commander
Have
and
+2
the center
defense.
hex itself are all within the command radius. There are ways to increase the command radius, so it can go up to 2, and that is very strong. The experience you were talking about collecting, that is
Wide
also
command
within
radius
the
sounds
Yeah,
Space.
so any combat that happens with those units is going to add XP back to that
to that
commander.
commander.
And I think there's also a great moment while we're looking at this. We can see that UI. We can see not only do we see the commander, we can see the specific units that are packed in there,
Yep.
their health.
I don't
And on
love
top
the
that, there's a bunch
UI icons of
abilities
the
that we see
units.
in there.
I think
Some
that area of the
we
UI
may not
needs
get to
work.
talk about all of them, but there's a lot of things where your commander can issue group-wide things or things that they can do while they're packed. That's how they can sort of. We often say vacuum, like suck in all the units around them, or they can pack them individually.
Or eat them.
No, not eat them.
Oh, right,
They
right. You said
join
it's
the
not an
eating
edible
them.
thing.
So there's a lot you can do, but this is the Legatus, so they have a couple extra special things even on top of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Legatus, like we said, is unique to Rome, and the thing that makes it unique is as it gains levels, gains promotions, it is able to create settlements, and that's sort of representing the fact that Rome, particularly Augustus, at that period of the Roman Empire during the
really
of those 200
cool.
years, they settled their veteran soldiers into provincial territories and created new towns, new locations, and they settled those veteran soldiers out. That was the promise for their service, was farmable land later on, and that is represented here with the Legatus. So as they gain experience, as their troops have done lots of fighting, they can then settle those troops and create a new town. So here we can see
Using
we
a
have
general to settle a
settlement
city?
charge. On this unit, you get 1 settlement charge for every 3 promotions the Legatus has. This one has 4 promotions, so we can create a settlement here, which we will do. We get to select which tile that goes on. We're going to put it right here on the minor river because, again, fresh water is very important. You do get fresh water if you're adjacent to a navigable river because you can't settle on that river tile.
Okay.
But for a minor river, it has to be on the minor river hex, not adjacent to
Okay,
that.
adjacent
So
to
we're gonna put it
navigable
we get
on
that. And something has popped
minor.
up here. A milestone is completed.
Ooh.
So let's talk about what milestones are.
Yeah, this is one of those really big changes we talked about earlier about the ages system, that now we want to recognize your progress in each age, as well as building towards that grand victory at the end of the final age of that whole campaign. And in this one, we're moving down the Pax Imperatoria legacy path. And if we hop over to that one, you see here on this screen, we got the paths. There are 4 paths in every age.
12 towns
They're
and
going to
cities in
fall
your
into
empire.
these common
Conquered settlements
families.
versus 2.
We can hop over and take a look at the economic one in a minute. But the one we just unlocked here is, bam, there you go. So now that we're going to get some bonuses,
Militaristic
that'll help us
expansionist attribute
develop further.
Yeah, so this track, the legacy path here is to have 12 towns or cities total in your empire, but conquered settlements counts as 2. So you can achieve this entirely peacefully. Rome is actually really, really good at that. They can have all of these different settlements out there and just create it peacefully, but conquering does count double if you take somebody else's. And then you gain progress as you advance in steps down this track. So we've hit this very first step. This does increase age progression. We'll talk about that meter once we return to the main map here in a second. And then we get some initial rewards. So we get a militaristic legacy point. We get a 2 options in the next age, legacy options, and we'll show what those are when we do our age transition. So we get an option to get a military attribute point or an expansionist attribute point. When we continue to progress, we get additional benefits. So even more legacy options will unlock, more points to spend on those. And then if we complete this path, we get a golden age. And that golden age unlocks a golden legacy option in the next age. Only one of those can be selected per age if you were to complete multiple golden ages. And again, we'll take a look at that later. And you get all of the rewards from what you've done previously.
Yeah,
I'm
so
super
they're
excited
helping
about the
you
legacy
in the
path
next
system.
stage, and they're also going to help you in the final age with claiming that ultimate victory. Because the more you've invested
Good luck,
in
Veggie
any
Boy.
particular legacy over the course of your campaign, you're going to have various
Cultural
bonuses
legacy
to do
point,
things
okay.
faster towards your victory in that final age. So it's an opportunity to progress on many different paths. You can pivot your legacy from the one that you want to prioritize in one age or the next, but you may also choose to double down. So it's a really a nice strategic option for where am I going, and they're all geared towards that age.
Right. This stuff is going to be different in subsequent ages. These legacy paths are specific to Antiquity.
Yeah. So exactly. Like codices in my empire is incredibly important in the Antiquity era age. That's when these,
I'm
you
really
talked
hyped
about
about
earlier,
the
there was a
age
lot of stuff
transition
being
stuff, 'cause if they get it
explored,
right-
written
if
out,
they
and
do it
shining
right, it'll be
in
super
different ages,
exciting.
we're going to care about different things. And in this one, built Silk Roads, very evocative of Antiquity, of people bringing those resources across, getting those resources assigned to my settlements. And so this is, going to be a completely different one. Hopefully I don't know if we'll talk
Plus
about
2
it yet or
gold
not,
for every
maybe in the
trade
future,
route.
but one of my favorites is our exploration economic victory. It's a very different gameplay.
So we have a lot of questions coming in about religion and how
Codex
religion
is a
plays
great
on
work
this.
of
And I know
science.
we're going to talk about it a little bit later on the stream, but
Yeah.
you want to touch about
So,
In the Antiquity era.
in Antiquity, we do have Pantheons, and we are going to show those off later on. And religion itself does make an appearance in the game. It's featured more heavily in the exploration age. And as we said, that the legacy paths do change by age. So what these look like in exploration are different. But we'll dive into the details on all of that, I think, at a later time.
And I think one of the reasons why religion plays more of a role in exploration is because this kind of fits more the historical model. Whereas, in what we normally think of as the Antiquity era, many of the world religions that we know now were founded. Some were still yet to come about. They became such a large and grand
Political
force.
Yeah.
When you think about the Catholic Church in the Middle Ages, or the expansion of the caliphates in the Middle Ages as well. This is a story for a later time.
All right, so I promised that we would get back to this settlement limit question, and we're going to do that right now because we saw in the legacy
settlement
path,
limit.
in
People have been
order to
crying about this.
win
I want to know.
The military legacy, you have to have 12 settlements. Captured settlements count double, but if you were to do this completely naturally without capturing anything, as I said, you can do. It is possible even though you have a settlement limit. We can see up here, we are now, after settling this town, we are now at 6 out of 5 settlement limit.
Minus
We
5 happiness per
exceeded our
settlement.
limit.
Okay.
This is a soft limit. You can have any number of cities that you want to, as much space as there is on the map. You can only settle, you have to have 3 tiles in between each settlement, so you can't be right up, 2 tiles away from something else, just like in Civ 6. You have to maintain that distance. But as much space as there is, you can have as many settlements as you want.
Reminds me a little bit of like
For every
Civ
single
4, Civ
settlement
5
you
happiness
exceed your
mashed
limit, as
together.
you can see right here, you do get a -5 happiness penalty in all your settlements. Settlement happiness is tracked individually, so we can see here that this settlement is now unhappy.
What does
But if we
unhappiness
look at
do?
some of our others, they might still be happy, and we can see that our total happiness yield is still positive.
I said three tiles, I
We have
believe.
some wiggle room. This settlement might not be doing so great, but our empire is still doing fine. And as we said before, this total happiness number is being deposited towards our celebrations. We want to try to maintain that. That'll get us, that's how we get more social policy slots, is every celebration you unlock, you get a new social policy slot.
Oh!
In addition to choosing the bonus of how you want to
addition to the
celebrate.
celebration.
Yeah,
Both? You're not
so there's
reacting?
both the temporary bonus of the celebration itself, and then the unlocking that you can use that policy however you want to.
Love you
Right,
both.
as
Thank you
go
for the
throughout
raid.
the
Didn't
rest
see
of
your
the
raid.
game.
Thank
Yes.
you.
So what
you not
happens here
reacting?
is the settlement limit we can exceed. We are penalizing ourselves, but we are adding all of the tiles that this settlement is going to give.
Oh,
all of
okay.
the yields that's going.
You have a little nap there, bud.
Still goes into our empire. That still matters. It's still helpful.
It's your own fault for living on the wrong
what
side
we
of
do
America,
have
brother.
Is a difference between wide versus tall gameplay as a result, and that means something different in Civ 7. You can have a wide empire within your settlement limit. You can have a wide empire that greatly exceeds your settlement limit. You can have a tall empire that exceeds your settlement limit. Tall really here is about having those towns that are feeding a couple of cities, and that comes down to specialists, which we're going to see here.
Well, let's do that. Yeah, let's get this through, and we got to.
This is one part of the game that I didn't really
We
mess
will
around
take
with.
over a city here. So we have this growth event, and we have unlocked the ability to add specialists. Earlier, our urban tiles were red, and you said we're going to come back to that. Now they are blue because we can place a specialist. And when we place a specialist down, it adds a base of 2 science and 2 culture with a penalty of 2 food and 2 happiness.
So this is a great way to, if I don't want to go wide, or if I'm
Stack
going
up
as
your
wide as
city.
I can enhance my yield either in a different direction or whatever, without necessarily needing more territory.
Yes.
So.
And the more towns you have, the more food is being funneled into your cities, the taller that they will become.
Excellent. Well, let's get out to that combat here. Let's,
Yeah,
throw
so we'll
someone
go
down.
ahead and plop this down on the one that has the most yields.
They're getting some bonuses.
They are getting
from the
bonuses.
adjacencies and wonders.
Yeah, they boost your adjacencies. So now that we've
Alright.
placed a specialist, we're going to come up and we are going to start our combat. So up here, we are ready to attack Aksum, our neighbor here,
He is
led
a
by
5-level
Amina. And
Legatus.
we have a Legatus with 5 promotions, 5 levels that is ready to start attacking.
Yeah, why don't you go through that? We can start talking about this stuff because a lot of the turn-by-turn combat is going to feel really familiar, but here, declaring war is really interesting. You'll notice that we don't have a negative relationship with her, but we can still declare a war. In this case, it's a surprise war. It costs no influence, but we're going to have some penalties in that combat. because it's some war weariness, I believe. So we're going to go
Yes.
ahead and declare that surprise war on Amina.
So they have war support, which is like inverted war weariness.
So Amina here is speaking Hausa. She is from the opposite side of the continent as Aksum. Aksum's on the Red Sea, and Hausa land is in what is now Nigeria, and she's also distant from Aksum about a.
He vomited out his
1,000 years.
units.
But,
Legions just.
One thing I really do love hearing in Civ games is that is the languages, and so that's when the first time I ever really heard Hausa.
It's always been one of the most exciting parts
Tasty
to hear
units.
something that I'd never heard before come to life. You know, we get so many amazing performers around the world, and getting to see now both leaders interacting with each other, it just brings the whole system to life in a way I haven't felt before when I'm
The Civ equivalent of a
declaring
Night of
war,
Swarm.
hopefully making
True!
Well, I mean,
StarCraft
Carl's
mod for
playing,
Civ
so
7
we
Inc.
know where this is going.
Please.
All right, he's going to attack a commander here, and someone who's got a few units packed up, but it is a lower level commander, so I'm confident in Carl's abilities.
Yeah, so it does have a whole bunch of units, and we can attack it anyway. And the reason we can do that is because these units were able to move immediately after unpacking. Normally they cannot. I gave this particular commander, this Legatus, a promotion that lets our units move immediately, but the commander's movement is now consumed by unpacking all of these
It does
units.
kind of look like the Dota UI.
And
I
we're going
will
to go
give
ahead
you
and
that
start
one.
attacking.
Look, they stay
You can see
engaged,
that the
29
combat
damage.
Animations continue to play as this as the turn
Kill 'em.
progresses, and that
Kill 'em.
does matter for the orientation of the units. We do get flanking bonuses from doing
Flank
attacks like this.
him. Yes!
And we have defeated this commander.
Commander
that has
Pinata!
unpacked all of the units.
Pinata
around
of
it.
violence.
These are now injured, so they all have damage to their health bars, and that's because we defeated the commander that they were packed into.
Excellent. Looks like we've used all of our military ability there for now.
We have.
So we'll grow another city, get through.
I know a lot of people on chat have been asking about
Look at all these growth.
naval combat. That's been a big question, and we're definitely going to get to that more, I'm sure, in the exploration age.
grow,
but
grow,
do
grow,
you have anything
guy,
that
the
we can
Carl
lightly
guy.
speak to on
Grow,
that?
grow,
Yeah,
grow,
so there
grow.
is still naval combat that you can engage in Antiquity, but because Antiquity
Did you know
was
commanders
much
would
more
respawn?
about,
That was news to me.
in a lot of ways, smaller,
did-
not
I
as
was-
much
somebody
naval
told me that they
power.
respawn.
That was
I didn't
something
lose a
that
commander,
we left for the exploration age. So you're going to be along the coast. You'll have some ships that can go out there, but it's most of your confrontations early on are going to be.
If I
on
have time,
land
I will
or
make a summary of
supported
this.
navally. But there's always that surprise attack of seeing a ship you didn't expect coming up a navigable river, and that can certainly surprise.
You can still get your Salamis fix here. I think I think right now we're very much in a land-based
Situation.
situation.
Yeah, I agree.
But
Culturally
different maps
exchange
might-
with me, hat
might see
shit.
more galleys and things.
So we do have a diplomatic action that was
Hat shep
proposed to us
soot.
here, so we get this option to support, accept, or
I
reject.
culturally exchange with your
as we were
mom
discussing
every day.
earlier, and we can see that this either costs us influence to support or to reject, but accepting is free.
Hat ketchup?
I like culture. We have plenty
hat
of
ketchup.
influence to use here, so we're going to support this. While we're here over the Egyptian city, let's take a look at what that looks like. We can see that the buildings here are completely different from ours. The architectural style is different for
I
each
love how
civ.
different the cities look.
And we also have a
Petra!
lot of other things going
Petra!
on in the city itself.
There's a Petra!
So over here we have the Egyptian quarter. This is the necropolis. And we have a whole bunch of wonders here in the background.
And
Petra
she's,
spotted, boys. Soy point.
Supported her city with those city walls.
She has,
Um,
yeah.
It's excellent.
And the last thing we have to do is our merchant. So this goes back to that Silk Roads victory you were talking about before. Merchants gather trade or gather resources from other settlements, other city civilization settlements. You can't trade with your own settlements. And all we're gathering here are those resources. So we're going to pick the
I'm a sleepy
city
boy.
that's within range. These are out of range. The city within range that has the most resources, that's this one here.
And we can see we have a limit of trade routes to the different ones. So
Yes.
obviously Ashoka, we've got two. We already have one in progress, but we have a second one we can do in this one because we've advanced our relationship. We could trade with a Shepsit, or we could trade with one of those independent powers.
Rihanna spread.
Carl
Bo's got me, bro.
Selected to see where they are on the map because we now.
I don't know how I feel about trade yet. I'm gonna need to play around with it a lot
merchant
more.
to that location. and build the trade route from there. Once we get them there, it's an immediate connection, but it's this really interesting thing where now it's not just about the merchant going there automatically. It's much more about me watching. It can be about watching the merchant. You could have people attack and not let you get access to those resources.
Religion
by
is
taking out the
a bigger
merchants
part of
before they
Era
even
2
get
is what they
to
said. It's not a part of a
opponent's
DLC.
city.
And once the trader is established,
Is
you
it
can
possible to
still
stack
pillage it if
multiple
you're
military
able.
units on the
Exactly.
same tile? Yes, if
Why
they're
don't
inside
we
a commander.
take a quick moment too? Now that we've accessed those resources, actually we haven't gotten.
We
them
haven't
yet.
gotten there yet.
Yeah.
Okay,
So-
I just want. Can you take us over to the unit there, the elephant?
Oh yes.
Oh,
So there's what I really like as well is just how different a lot of the units look from each other. You know, this
that is something I noticed in
the
the
settler for
press
for
preview. It was
Moria.
really cool.
You know, your Roman settler looks very different.
That's a great point. We have a lot. Our unit team has done an incredible job of not only do we have the cultural variety in our city sets, and our unique units.
Yeah.
We also have just varied units.
There is
Maybe
religion
the
stuff
same
early game, but it
warrior,
doesn't
one civ and another
take
one
as
is
big a
gonna look
role
different.
Yeah.
And I
as it
think
does in
it's just
previous games.
Exciting to see that all come to life.
Not only was that the unique settler for Moria, but we were also able to see there that the I'm going to go ahead and put it down a barracks here. We were also able to see that unit got attacked,
Yep.
and it defended itself.
I think it was a naval attack.
It was a naval attack, but the unit had its own health bar. Here's that, not war weariness. There it is. War weariness, as you mentioned earlier, that's because we had a surprise war. But that settler unit defended itself. Settlers no longer need to be escorted. They
Yes.
now have a defensive strength. They can't attack, but they can defend. And so they are not instantly captured
Settlers
when they're
no
attacked
longer
by a
need to be
hostile unit.
escorted.
Instead, they have a health bar and can be defeated. So I have our Legatus here, and I have a bunch of units around.
I will
it.
miss
We're
Naked
gonna use
Settlers.
one
It
of
was a
these
lot of fun
actions down
to
here.
kill
So
someone
we have
settler.
a couple of different things. These are orders for groups of units. This allows you to use your commander to manage your.
That's a
field
change
units
made to
much
help the
more
AI
efficiently and their bonuses
100%,
for
I
doing
bet.
so. It consumes the commander's movement, and any units that execute the order consume their movement. If not all units get to participate in the order, their unit or their movement is not consumed. So an example of that, I'm going to have all of my range units do a
focus fire
on this,
attack.
Warrior up here. They will get a +1 combat strength to each unit that participates. If the warrior
Yeah, but your
is
settler won't get
defeated
yoinked by a scout,
with, say,
right?
one archer attack and the other one doesn't get to attack, that archer will still have his unit movement available and can still do an attack normally.
Excellent.
Oh! Focus
ACV,
fire.
gain XP.
Yep.
The Saxy Gamer from YouTube, by the way, asks if commanders have replaced Great Generals.
They have. Yes.
But they're so much cooler.
They are
But
way
they're so much cooler.
They are
do
cooler.
have similar abilities to some great general
You didn't get that
abilities.
experience. You didn't move the commander up.
We're not gonna go into
Carl!
what those are at this time, but they do
Carl,
have
you're not getting
some
the
things that overlap
experience.
that function.
No!
Now, Carl,
They
did
asked
you
him a question
enhance
right
that
before
commander's,
combat. This is like
radius,
me
or
when I
did
play
you forget to
Civ.
move
Carl,
forward?
no!
I forgot to
You're
move him
miss-
forward. You're right.
Come on, Carl.
This was suboptimal play on my part.
He's inting!
I am being distracted.
Reload the turn, Carl.
That is fair.
So when we
We play it
found,
right in
this
this
settlement
house.
down here, we did get a free Legion. That's because of one of those Civic unlocks that we have from our unique Roman tree. We're going to go ahead and immediately pack this into the commander that we had, create that settlement, and we're going to start moving this guy up.
Unwatchable,
We had a
agree.
maneuver promotion in this commander that allows us to ignore the movement ending
I have the
terrain.
maneuver
So we
promotion
can
in your
move all the
mom.
way up here. We can watch this commander
I don't know why
march,
I'm
and
like
you
this,
can
dude.
see all of the units
Why
that
am
are
I like
packed
this?
into that commander. So here we have a legion, and an archer. This changes dynamically based on the units that are packed in there, and you're able to assess the size of a force before you engage with it based on the units that
Yeah,
are around
visually
it.
as well as
Right.
through the UI. Yeah.
And that commander's, you know, I guess to reiterate, it's just taking up one tile.
Yes.
Right there.
The
There are-
packed,
there are
arm, the
four
packed
units
army
here, right.
it's a more efficient way to move across the map.
Right.
Both.
I
in
do
terms
like
of
that the units are
space
like attached to
well
the commander as you move around.
Especially with the upgrade that Carl's put on it in
Defection
number of
is
turns
achieved.
as well.
Yeah.
Not when
And
there is
yeah,
nothing
when you
to
have
add.
a
there is
unit
nothing.
packed into a commander, the commander's movement actually increases. So it moves even farther when you are grouped up like that to really encourage you to use them to move efficiently across the map.
Now,
Engineering 2, do it.
We got so many things to talk about in there. We're getting faster as we go. I do want to touch on masteries. we can see this right here that we've got our age-specific tech tree that we're looking at. Obviously, we're pretty far in. We've unlocked a lot of things here. But you see under a few of these techs, we have a mastery. And that's basically an indicator of the depth that the civilization would go to pursue one particular technology, as well as unlocking new things. I think we got a bug going on right now, but it's letting us develop further in one concept, but it doesn't unlock anything further in the tree. It's just a way of going deeper in that.
I like the
concept,
idea of being
or
able to
I
go
can choose to move on.
deep in
So it's not as many
technology, just
gates
like I go
without removing the complexity and the choice.
deep in your mom. We have to do it.
Got a promotion. Let's
The
go ahead.
question about great generals as well has also gotten our chat just talking about great people in general. Can we kind of speak to how that's taken shape in the game?
Great people are now unique to each or to certain civs. So we're able to see that with Egypt. We do have game guides up on our website, civilization.com, and we can see on there's a list of Egyptian great people. So great people are no longer a global resource that other civilizations compete with. Oh, this guy is hurting.
Oh, civilization unique great people?
They're no longer a global resource. Instead, they are on a civ by civ basis.
Now
I really
that's
appreciate your ability
poggers.
to eloquently
Now
answer
that's
questions
pog
and
racing.
Fight a war.
I do my best, as we have already seen with the position of the commander. It doesn't always work out.
Would have been better if you moved that guy up. Then this war would have gone much better.
Well, it's going pretty well so far.
Chat said you were just giving them a chance.
Yes,
which I agree
that you are correct. This legion is pretty far forward and is very hurt. So we're going to pillage this tile, which will allow us to heal.
Ooh,
Just
20
to
health
clarify
pillage.
on the,
Civ 5 is
great
back,
people bit,
baby.
It's not just Egypt that gets unique great
Correct.
people. There's some other.
There are others. Which ones they are, we're
Which ones they
not
are
ready
is-
to talk about yet.
Yes.
So like civs have their own unique great people, do all civs have 2 buildings unique to them as well? That's been a question from chat.
That's a great question. The answer is no. Some civilizations have unique buildings, in which case they do have 2 of them, and a unique quarter when you combine them. Other civilizations have a unique tile improvement. Now, the way that works is a little bit different from those standard tile improvements like the woodcutter and the farm and the plantations that we've already seen.
Okay.
Instead,
He's
when
deploying.
you have a unique tile improvement, it has to be built on top of an
Pillage.
existing tile improvement. Because you have to have a
Okay, so you
population
layer
there,
your tile back on top of the
and
tile.
so you place down your farm, let's say, and then you are able to build your unique tile improvement with production on top of that existing tile improvement, replacing it. However, it does not replace that previous tile improvements yields. Instead, it just adds to them. And you'll see
shit.
that
So it,
in
like,
the
layers
descriptions
up.
for those tile improvements.
Loving the layer
And then
system.
Any buildings that you have that enhance it, a warehouse building such as the granary says on it that it adds to farms, that does not get removed either. So if you are building a unique tile improvement,
You layer
on
shit
top
on
of a
top of
farm,
each other.
you
I'm
keep the
loving
farm
this.
Yield, you keep your granary yield. It's just giving you more.
It's additive.
It's additive.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think I want to make sure Carl's flying through here pretty quick. I'm sure people are going to pause through and find all the juicy bits that we're not quite talking about. I know we want to get this city captured.
Yeah, I'm trying to get through here.
We're getting, so this is great. I wanted to get to this real quick.
Wait, they fixed the
Plus,
screen.
just a
It
quick
looks better?
second. This is one of those things I mentioned earlier.
I didn't like how it
Resources
looked in
are
the
not
original build
treated
that
in
I played.
diplomacy. We now have this resource management, and this is not
This is
only
like
the
your great
resources
work screen
I
for
have
resources.
from inside my civilization, but those I've gotten by building trade routes with those other civs. And as you can see in here, Carl can maybe choose where that salt is going to
Show
go. Because
factories?
You now actually get to assign them.
You're,
and get the
you're able to
bonuses
upgrade
based
resources.
on,
They left it
where
in.
you
Holy
want
shit!
that.
You're gonna be able
Now
to.
that just
You're gonna be able to
stacks
turn
up,
copper
yields
into
went up
pipes.
based on the salt that you put in.
You're gonna be able
You
to
can
turn sheep
choose
into
at certain
clothing.
times to move the
You're gonna be able to
resources
be
around.
turn
Some
salt
are
into
gonna
the
get
tiers
better
of your
bonuses in
enemies.
Cities or towns. or your
Factories
capital.
confirmed.
And at the top we saw our
We can
empire-level
manufacture
resources,
goods. I
which are
knew
gonna
it was going to be like that.
affect everyone,
I had a bet with
all
somebody. I
at
think
once,
somebody
and
bet
those
me like
don't have to be
$5 it wasn't
assigned.
going to be
You
like
just-
that.
Once you get them,
fucking knew.
they're yours as long as you have access to that resource.
Yeah, I think here too, this gives a certain kind of a feeling of Antiquity.
Production chains, let's
Empire,
go,
you're
baby.
You've got a broad hinterland that is bringing in things to create a glorious central capital, if you so wish to do that.
Yeah, and I think it's to the.
Can I
earlier
turn people into
question
food?
about the
You could turn
gameplay.
anything
We
into
saw
food, dude,
how
as long
the
as it's been
Silk
alive at
Roads,
one point.
Getting those resources, getting access to
Me and
all
your
those
mom.
is very
I'm
popular
sorry.
for Antiquity. There's something really exciting on resources. I guess we're not gonna. I'm gonna hold it so I don't get in trouble. So I guess we're going to keep going through this combat, see if Carl gets there, maybe on the next turn. Otherwise,
I think we're pretty close here.
pretty close. It's probably about time for us to see what's coming in the next era, or the next age. We'll do a jump
Let
through
arms yield to
age
the
transition.
cobra.
We got a few screens to show you what that's like.
Wait, they're doing an age transition?
But right now, before we do that, Carl, you can go.
What?
Keep
So we've unlocked the last unique civic to Rome, which is Senatus Populosque Romanus, which is the Senate and people of Rome. This gives us a series of unique benefits. We get an additional social policy slot. We increase our settlement limit, and we are now back at 6 out of 6. We will go over that again when we capture this settlement here in a moment. We get a tradition. We talked about this momentarily earlier. Traditions are social policies that are unique to that civilization.
We'll see more on that at age transition.
I'm actually going to slot this right away, so we'll see that right now here in a second. And our wonder is available in our unique civics tree. Every civ has an associated wonder. This does appear in either the normal tech tree or the normal civic tree, but it also appears in that civ's civic tree. So they have a different
that is
route
cool.
to it that might allow them to access it earlier.
So
or
you
in a
have an
different way,
advantage to getting
and
your
then they can start building
civilization-specific
it
wonder, but you
earlier
don't
and
necessarily
faster.
are the only person who can get it.
Unfortunately, we're going to come up against
Interesting.
time on this call.
Okay.
So,
That's fine.
So what would happen if we were able to capture that city?
So if we were able to capture that city, it would join our empire. It would exceed our settlement limit, which is fine. We would get a happiness penalty, but that's okay. But we would then control that city. We could choose whether to raise it, which will destroy it over a couple of turns, or we can choose to keep it. And if we were to keep it, it then has an occupation penalty, and we are able to improve it and build in it as normal. It becomes a town when we capture it.
In our demo at Gamescom, we gave the audience the option of keeping or raising the city, and most of the audiences chose to burn it to the ground. That
I
was-
think
Based.
there's one last thing we want to
Scorch
talk
it.
about, which was the crisis system, which I know there's been a lot of questions around. And you saw as Carl loaded us into that later game that the age progress had moved up. That happens as we complete our legacy, those checkpoints that we looked at.
Yep.
It happens as we get through every turn. There's a little bit of progress. There's a few other things that you can do to sort of move that meter up. As it gets pretty high up, the crisis system comes online, which is now you're not just battling your opponents, racing for the end, becoming the best, but the world is now set upon you. There's challenges from outside that you have to react to. Now, depending on which of the crises comes up and what age you're in and who you're playing as, some of them may be a little easier, a little harder, and you have to decide, are we going to power through this, or are we going to pivot and try and go around and get something that maybe we weren't planning? So we'll talk more about the crisis system, but it is that extra spice that comes and really makes some increased tension and excitement at the end.
I'm not sure what kind of spice you're used to, but
I don't handle spice very well.
Yeah,
so.
apparently. But yeah, and it's something where again we're trying to think about at the end
Budget
of the
Jeff
Antiquity
Bezos.
era,
Guys, don't
what
be
are the
mean to
forces?
Andrew.
And they may be, dramatic upheavals in one way or another. Maybe just a change in the fundamental structure of society. In the see Roma up here. What?
When are we getting the
happens
Dune
with
mod?
the Western
Spice?
Empire is you get kind of a regional loyalty starts to manifest. Well, no, it's your area of expertise. But the rise of the vernacular as time moves on, the rise of local powers.
Yeah, you have. I mean, there's a whole bunch of different things that happens with the fall of Rome. There's the outside influence.
Walk
there's
without
internal
rhythm.
corruption. It got too big to support itself.
Lest we
There's a whole
attract the
bunch
worm.
of different factors there that sort of cause its collapse. And as you said, you're sort of battling the rest of the map, the rest of the world, different challenges on the rise that force you to make some really difficult decisions.
And it's those things that bring us to that transition where the gameplay and the history come together, and we get to go into the next age. And I think at this point, we're going to probably be able to jump you through that age transition. I think Sarah's got a couple of caveats to give you here.
Yes, yes. So we are showing off the age transition. I will say the age transition shows a lot of information. So we have just covered up a few of those spoilers, but we are going to walk through what that looks like with you all.
And this is the moment that we see right now. This is in-game. The Antiquity age has ended. That crisis has been the thing that triggered it narratively, but also defined my gameplay experience. And now I'm going to get to move on and get to see.
Show us the transition.
Through all of the rewards that
Show
I
us. We must see.
This is giving me. There's a few other tabs in here, which
okay,
we can
attribute
probably
points
talk about later. But right now, you can see because of that legacy progress that we made, we've earned points. We've unlocked.
I love
these
points.
things that's going to sort of allow us to make the choices and the options that we have.
Okay, you can
After
pick
we
things.
Make this choice, we get to go on and make one of the most exciting choices.
Pick the Civ.
Which is, who are we going to be?
Soon to be revealed.
You want to talk a little bit about what we have option-wise here? We're
Norman!
going to pick the Normans. That's the one option we have available.
Yes.
At least that's not masked.
Yeah. I mean, in a normal game, there would be more than just one option.
Right.
But because of
Wait,
secret.
there's a historic
this is a
Civ
great,
choice to do
opportunity
at
to talk
Rome
about the
that is
choices
soon
are
to be
here and why the
revealed?
choices are here.
Yeah.
Holy
there's a
Roman
lot of,
Empire, Italy?
in
The
past
Pope?
games, obviously, we played straight
Are we gonna be
through.
able to play the
We
Pope?
didn't have this choice every time. Now we have
Civ
this
7
choice
Pope confirmed.
every single time. This is a spot where you're going to always pick who are we going to become. What are we going to do?
Byzantium.
Yeah.
And
True.
in this case, we have the Normans. We don't have the Abbasid because it wasn't a natural unlock based on the choices we made, and we didn't do the gameplay.
Yeah.
Which Pope, though? The
same thing
Byzantine one.
With Chola, as we can see here, so these have a lock icon on them. We're not able to select them. They are visible to us, but we can't pick them because, like you said, we didn't have.
Dude, are they
anything
going to
that
leak something?
Granted them to us.
This
through
build
the
must have been
gameplay.
tested so many times
The
to not
Normans
leak
are
anything.
Available, so if we were to select that, we would then come up and see
Come on.
what they
Just
have
leak a little
as
something.
part of their civilization kit.
So let's go ahead and
zoom
let's
it out
take a
more,
look at
Brian.
what
You
that
got
Norman
this.
selection screen would look like for us, and then Dr. Johnson, what is the connection
Norman.
between the Normans and the Romans here? What are we talking about? with
Yeah,
this?
this may sound a little bit surprising.
This reminds me of Japan. The embarked land units adjacent to coast.
Of
The White Tower?
cultures in Western Europe. It
Play
may
is
not
hidden?
be okay. So Normans are way up there in northwestern France, and then they take
Play as
over
Rome,
England,
play as
and we
Greece?
think of
Play as
Norman,
hidden.
the Norman Knights, and we think of the Battle of Hastings,
Hmm.
being pretty far away from the centers.
What does
of,
that
of-
mean?
Of Roman power, but we're trying to think about links and not necessarily the anointed successor of a place,
does
but
that
rather
mean?
places that were influenced, inflected by this. I think in we had the case of
HRE?
of London.
Yes.
Oh, depending on who you
London
play
is a-
as, you could
is a
become the
city that was
wait.
founded
If you play
by
as Greece,
Rome,
you become the
which was
Norman
Londinium,
Empire?
And this was a Roman outpost that grew into a Roman town. And
Is that-
there's a lot of different layers of history that happen. Like you said, the Normans invade England. They capture London. It becomes a Norman city. And there are
The Greece to
history is
Norman
built in
pipeline,
layers, and
I
London
wanna know
has
more
layers
about.
to it. We actually, Ed talks a lot about this. He did a whole presentation at PAX West. We have
They
that
hid
video
so much.
available on
Unlocks the
YouTube
French
channel for
Empire,
anyone
though,
who's
the next
interested in
age.
seeing it and learning more details about Ed's vision for that. But it started as Rome. And so even though you mentioned that Normans started in France and then they go to England, and those are different periods in their history, just as I said earlier, we're looking at Rome as a whole and no longer just a single point. It's we're representing everything in Rome from the 12 tables, which is the start of their government, to the Senate and people of Rome at the end.
Will I make a summary video?
The
If I have
Normans
time,
were
I will.
looking at a variety of different things too. We have
Simples.
France, we have England, and Rome was in both of those places. That was both part of the Roman Empire at one point.
And for the Normans, they are influenced there by Rome via Gaul, via this long chain of historical connections that we're not going to represent, because to do so you'd have like 15 little mini games where suddenly you're playing as Gaul and then you're
Give me the
playing
15 mini games.
like
I want 'em.
Francia, and then you're playing as this and this and this. This is
Broad strokes.
yeah. Let's
Give
just
me
take
the
2
mini
points on this
games.
chain.
Yeah.
And again, when we talk about the Normans, do we mean Normandy, do we mean the Vikings who settled in Normandy? Do we mean the Norman Knights and William the Conqueror and the Battle of Hastings in this era?
I think we try to represent a little bit of all of it.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I think that this is one of those great moments to talk. Like, I love every time we talk about what civs could lead to what civs. There's so much to unpack within that. There's so much.
All
context,
civs
so much
relate to your
history.
mom.
And obviously, history is one of those things that we always want to reflect. We always want to make sure that the choices that you've made in one age lead into the other. And we're going to see some of that when we jump back to gameplay. We'll see the consistencies of what does carry into your exploration civ that because of the choices, because of the gameplay. And some of that is the direct gameplay on the map. Some of it is also just, like you said, who you were. We were Rome, so this is one of the possible logical choices. We've got one that's hidden on here. That could be a gameplay thing that you could do to unlock this as well. You know, being Rome is not the only way to unlock the Normans. You could do it via gameplay, which you're hiding, or Greece.
Right, oh my gosh, that brings us to our Civ reveal, which is extremely exciting. We are revealing Greece today on stream, and we're going to be adding a game guide to the Civilization website, so definitely check it out.
Civ website game guide.
And I know that a lot of people wanted to know a little bit more about the icon in the upper corner. I was supposed to mention that earlier. We're going to talk a little bit more. There's a lot of exciting player level developments and things that we're going to be able to expand on in future live streams.
Oh my god, dude.
All right. Well, we are
Brian,
already
get on it.
hauling along pretty well, but we did want to have a little bit of time to play as Moria. So are you ready for that, Carl?
I think we need to actually check out Rome in the exploration age.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. That sounds good. Sounds
We're all,
even
we're all
better.
running full
even
speed
better.
to try and get
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, so if we jump back into game here, we have done our age transition and
Production,
we have selected
Resident
Normans.
Sleeper.
So this is Rome as Augustus transitioned into the Norman civilization in the very first turn of exploration here. And we can see that this is the same Rome that we were just playing as.
The
This
third
is the
age
same
should
city,
be
it's
the
the
third
same
age of
map,
Lord of the
we
Rings.
just moved forward
Don't
in
at
time.
me.
We can even see we've still got the wonders that we built.
We have our wonders.
unique quarters there.
Unique
Our
quarters, yeah.
Roman Forum is still here. Our palace has changed. It's now a Norman palace.
Can you push in a
zoom
little bit
Yeah,
more?
we
Yeah.
can zoom in
Ooh.
here. And we can see that the
I like that there's a
buildings,
little
the
sprinkling of
population
Roman
buildings that fill
buildings
out
in with the
pictures
Norman
here
ones. I
change
think that's really cool. It adds
architectural
this
style
different
as well.
quarterization. Like,
But
this is the
other
Roman
buildings
bit.
here are
This is the
those
Norman bit, the
Roman
walls, you know,
antiquity
all that
buildings, and
stuff.
those
That's
are
really cool.
Still present. We get to keep all of this stuff as we move forward. If we look at some of our other settlements up here, we do have the settlements that we captured, all the towns that we founded. Those are still here. We're at 8 out of 8 settlements, and we can
Production,
even see
fix
that
the-
we have some of the tile improvements that Oxum gets because they had
Listen,
built
being a
them.
producer is a
We
hard
were
job for a
still
live stream.
attacking this settlement, and we captured that. We get to keep those ourselves, and they
If you
transition
zoom in
with
enough,
us.
you can
We
play
still have
Assassin's
them
Creed.
in the exploration age.
Why would you want to? What a trash game.
And our
What a terrible game.
relationships are still
Assassin's
here.
Creed.
That's still part of it. It carries.
First
forward.
game is banger,
Yeah, and
actually.
there's a few other things we'll get to go through as we go through the rest of this turn, but it's just like
I mean,
basking in sort of like
Assassin's Creed is
this
okay.
is the
I don't-
same game.
I just wanted to
right?
meme.
This
Yeah.
is not. I didn't reset. I had a few things sort of change, a few things level out to keep the world interesting and challenging. But at the same time, I won't walk in and be like, wait, what's going on? Or I
Right.
don't know what this world is.
And
Gandalf.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Meme.
I
have no
think
memory
also
of
in
this
looking
place.
at any one of these cities, too, you kind of can see the possibilities of history. So you came to Rome via one link, or you came to the Normans via one link. You could have taken a different link in a different way, and I think that
He's
is
like a
also
conductor.
the case. You know, speaking as a historian here too, is that
The
when you look
passion in
back,
his hands is
there
incredible.
is no one destiny to which we are inevitably moved forward, nor is there one origin that we come from.
If you
We
zoom
are
out enough, you
always
can see your
of
mom.
multiple places. Yeah,
That was a good one, Chatter.
for someplace uncertain.
And I think in that dynamism of how many things we could be made of, we have the age transition choices.
We do have
we
that.
get to
There's
show
there's
off.
two last things. I'm
Come on,
jumping
Carl.
back to our gameplay,
go,
pulling
go,
you
go.
guys back in here. There are other things besides just the buildings that we have on the map that do carry forward as part of this transition. We can see here this is the commander that we had. Our other one is in one of
I
our
love
other
the
settlements
graphics.
here. Our promoted commanders carry forward. It's no longer the Roman unique one. It's now a basic one.
Promoted
because it's not a Roman
commanders carry
unique unit,
forward.
but it
That's
has all the
big.
promotions
It's a
that it
Norman
had.
commander.
It's
and
the
the
Early
Norman
war is
don't have a
big.
unique commander,
yeah, but it still has all the promotions that it had. And lastly, we still have those unique traditions that we were talking about earlier. This is part of our Roman identity. We still have these. We're still able to slot them
You
as our
keep
social
your
policies,
traditions.
and this continues to stack as we go forward. So as we play through an entire campaign, we're able to layer our civilization choices together to get the infrastructure added together, the traditions added together, and all of those things create a whole new gameplay experience that changes every single time
I think
you
it's a
play.
great point to call these out, because in the last age we had the civics for the Antiquity age, and we had the Roman civics that we could unlock traditions with. Now we have the exploration civic tree that everyone has the same access to, but now we have the Norman specific civic tree, so we can unlock Norman traditions to carry forward as we go into the next age. But let's go ahead and do that age transition.
Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and start the exploration age, and at the very beginning, we
Oh my
can
God,
spend
please
those
zoom out
legacy
the screen
points
like a
on the
nanometer.
things that we unlocked as part of the legacy paths that we completed in the previous age. So again, all of this is a result
shit.
of the
Okay, so
progress
he's
that
got
we
2
have
military
made,
points, so he could
and
pick.
the things that we have available to choose here are because of the choices that we had achieved.
Right, these are
So
those
these are
points
like
that we unlocked
Yes.
from going
legacies.
through the legacy path earlier.
So we have our 4 legacy path points, and then we do have 1 wild point here.
A
and we
wild
spend
point.
these on a variety of
Your
different
mom's a
types
wild
of
point.
legacy perks. Here we have our golden age for the culture. We also have our golden age for the economic legacy path. We completed both of those all the way to the very
So this
end.
is a great point. Our legacy paths are not exclusive. You can complete multiple. You can pursue as many as you want, and you're not in direct competition with each other. You just want to get as far and as much as you can. And now we have more options to choose from, which means we can choose to approach the exploration age differently. than we
Wonders get
maybe
plus
could
1
have
culture and
had we
happiness.
not gotten as many legacy points completed.
That said, you can only have 1 golden age perk.
Right.
So we've
I think I would
unlocked
just
2,
smash out
but
those
Silk
those
Road's one, we do not
attribute
get
points.
Wonders of the Ancient World. That is
I mean,
now
Wonders of the-
grayed out as a choice for us.
Silk
I
Road
did
seems
see a question
busted.
from chat regarding golden ages. Are there dark ages as well? Is that something we'll see?
There are dark ages as well. We're not revealing what those details are, but if you do not complete any progress in a legacy path, you do get a dark age perk that you can choose, which changes your gameplay a significant amount in a really interesting way.
That is so
And those are
cool.
different for every single legacy path.
And I think one of my favorite things to point out here is just the option to change your capital, which I think is...
And that's free.
And that's free, yeah. So you can decide...
You could move your
exploration
capital
age,
around.
dive-
I like
dive
that. That's
deeper into
really
future
cool.
lives
Like if you're like,
choose,
oh shit,
you
this
understand
capital's
why
like
you
really
want
close
do
to my
that.
enemy. I
But
want to play
as
defensively,
talked
or
about
I want to put my unit
earlier,
production center
you've
right
got
on the front
idea
line.
that
Ba ba
there's
ba
gonna
ba
be some
bam.
more
You can move it
naval
around.
gameplay. So you might have been a landlocked civilization before, or at least land capital, and now you say,
That's
well, we're
really
gonna move
cool.
our capital over to the coast because we're
I
going to
love all those changes. I'm really intrigued by them.
To see what's next.
The game is
And that can be
gorgeous.
a really big pivot.
It's super
from
interesting.
Someone who is maybe focused on conquest just within their borders. So
Absolutely, and I just selected that card, or that perk. So as we advance here, we can see that we still have Roma, but Roma is no longer a capital. This city has been renamed, and our palace is now here. This is our
Ren is our capital.
location.
Obviously, so much more we could deep dive going through the exploration age, but today we were trying to focus on antiquity and age transition. I think we got through that. We're going to go ahead and jump over and take a look at another antiquity situation. Andrew, you want to tell us who we're going to see?
Sure. We're going Moria now?
We are.
Okay. So now we're gonna move back. We saw Ashoka briefly in our Roman playthrough. Now we're going to be Ashoka here, and we're gonna look.
That was
at
all very
our,
interesting stuff that I'm very excited about to
Moria,
see how it
India.
works
And
out.
so here is a case where we have a kind of through
I
line,
ruined your mom. That's not
more or
even-
less, within India from Moria to Chola to Mughal. Now I hesitated a little bit saying through line because Chola is in a very different part of what is currently India than Moria was, than the Mughals were based. It is only in retrospect that these places kind of come together as a political unity. But that said, here we are. This is the capital of Pataliputra here, and we've got
Pataliputra?
what I really like.
That's hard to say.
It may be a minor
That takes
issue,
practice. He said that a
for-
lot.
For the audience, but for me, looking at the palace there, it took
Yeah.
so long to try to get good reference and talking back and forth with art.
You can
to say,
feel the
well,
passion for history
exactly
coming
what
from
were
these
the
guys.
architectural styles of Morian architecture. It's a mixture of guesswork and some reference and some archaeology, but I love the amount of work that goes into a lot of these little things. With Antiquity stuff, it's going to sometimes be guesswork.
I think it's a great example too. The palace is incredible, but even just looking at the land around it, the buildings, the population centers where people live, it immediately feels very different than what we had when we were playing as Rome in our other game.
Yeah.
And we got Carl exploring the map, finding a couple more of these discoveries, giving us some more choices.
Ooh, take a bunch of damage or get.
I'm not going to damage our unit. I'm just going to.
I would take the damage. Come on, Carl.
This is happiness towards a celebration. And speaking of, we have a celebration available.
Guys, spam chat in the production chat to zoom out a smidge.
Social policy slot.
I can't take not being able to see the icons.
Bonuses that will last for the next 10 turns. I am going to go ahead and select food because I think we're doing some early unit building still, and I don't want to commit to buildings.
Ooh.
Some people probably have noticed, but this is turn 13. We are not on turn 1 in this Antiquity.
Oh, he did it.
We already got a few things underway.
Production. Send him love. Say production heart. Say we love you, Brian.
Is this amazing
we love you,
navigable
production.
river into a series of lakes that is snaking along into the continent here, and we're going to continue to explore along this.
I don't know if it's
shoreline
Brian
to
running
see
the stream.
how far it goes, what we can uncover. This is definitely going to be a place that we're going to want to settle as we continue to expand.
This has been the kind of thing that when I think about the mentality and the mantra we've had of history is built in layers. I am already thinking of, yes, I want a city on that coast, so when I get to exploration, that may become my capital.
On the Great Lakes,
even on a Great Lake, because it's like, okay, cool, I have
fortifications.
all the advantages of being in the center of the continent, as well as the access to the ocean with my naval power.
Yeah. So here we've completed.
Are you behind from pausing?
This will give us
Probably
our
a
choice
smidge.
of Pantheon. And Maria's unique ability is that they get to select 2 Pantheons. So we're going to go ahead and do that.
That's
now.
poggers.
We have a whole list of Pantheons here to choose from, and we get to pick 2 of these to keep. Most of these require that the city.
Goddess of the Harvest
alter
seems
in
really
order
good.
to benefit from the bonuses. So we're going to want to make sure to build our altar in this settlement, and that will give us whatever 2 we pick. They both
Oh my
provide the
God,
same
he scrolled
altar.
through all the pantheons.
There's a ton of different.
We love you,
options here.
Carl. The
I
analysis
invented
video
ones
is going to be
that are really
amazing.
enhance our on-map yields. So I think I'm going to take Goddess of the Harvest,
Scrolled
which is
through
very
the
similar to
pantheons.
what
What a
Granary does.
god!
And I am going to take God of the Forest because we also have a lot of vegetated tiles here. These are rainforest tiles because it's a tropical biome. They give science as their biome yield. And so by picking those and then we build an altar, we will get all of this yield benefit onto the map. And again, these are called out as a warehouse bonus.
They
and
should
as I was
rename this
saying
to
with
God of
the
Wood.
Tile improvements earlier.
Goddess of Wood,
these do
which is
not
what
get
your mom
removed
is.
when you build your unique tile improvement. So that'll just stay there and continue to stack up.
Yeah, I think this is a great moment to call back to what we talked about earlier, that the Pantheons is the sort of the representation of the religion ideas that we see in the Antiquity age.
All right. Well, unfortunately, we don't have time to go too much farther within that. So we're gonna have to take a rest there. So we did get to see a huge slice of Antiquity today, but I do know that we do have some questions from chat that we want to try to answer, just a couple if we can.
Yes, we do have quite a few questions from chat, and just to preface, if we didn't get to every question today, we are going to have more opportunities for questions in the future. Thank you guys so
More
much
developer
for leaving
streams.
questions for our
More
devs.
developer streams. More developer
I have
streams.
a few
Streams.
that I've plucked out. The first, I love this question. As devs, how do you pick and choose which civs/leaders will be in the game?
That
is a very interesting process.
I could probably talk another. Do we have another live stream worth of time? No, it is an amazing collaborative process with our team internally. There is no one way in which we do it. Sometimes it begins with our narrative team or historians looking at who is important at that time. Sometimes it begins with our designers looking at what is the mechanism that we need to highlight. And we're always looking at the representation, both for portions of the world, for different peoples, for different identities, and working as a large group with all of our partners internally, with our publisher, even sometimes reaching out to external groups to get insights and perspectives that we don't have. So it is just it's an exciting, long, huge process to go through that I could do another stream on.
Yeah,
Do it.
I think for me, one thing that is important for me, and important for I think, civilization as a game, the essence of civilization is that it was always global. It was not a story of, Egypt turns into Greece, and Greece turns, or like a story of Rome conquering the world. It was always a
All
global
civs.
perspective, even from the very beginning. And so I think what I sought to bring to things is really looking at, try to take that perspective and see what are the global forces going on at different points in time, and then also what are the regional forces. So it may be that this or that power is not, influencing everything around the globe, but they really are groundbreaking or influential within a particular area.
There is no definition of what's important or what's right or what's the best. It is a constant conversation.
I don't love the
about, is it
minimap,
important for
but
the global,
we'll give
is
them
it
lots
the
of feedback
region,
and
as you
cry
said.
about it
I
and
think
see if
that's
you
great.
upgrade it
And I
hopefully.
think that what's exciting about that process is we're always learning as we go through it. Even someone who comes in with, this would be the perfect one because of these reasons, and it's like someone else has another idea, and they're just always ping pong. It's frankly just an exciting conversation to be a part of.
Have we
Absolutely. And we're-
degenerated to mom jokes? Listen, bro, your mom jokes are the pinnacle because here's the thing: everyone had a mom, which means when you say your mom, we're hitting everybody. It is the omnidirectional punch. Okay, it's perfect.
We're definitely excited to show off a lot more of those civilizations and leaders as well. We've had quite a few questions about this. Can't pin it down to one user, but a lot of our players want to hear more about the AI. That's definitely a hot topic. Hearing about the improvements to AI that have been made.
Hot topic was a
Can we
clothing
speak to
store.
that at all? And can we also speak a little bit to how the AI makes decisions during that transition process too?
I love how everyone looks right at me. Yeah. I've never written a line of code for this game. No. What I can say about that is that, there's been a lot of investment in the AI this time. We have a bigger AI team than we ever have had. We have more people involved, and frankly, more planning around it earlier on in the process. So in a lot of ways, it's an increased investment. On top of that, there's been a lot of design changes
That help the AI.
that allow the AI to focus in on gameplay because we're not talking
Settlers
about
don't need to be escorted, that helps the
march
AI.
from,
No
the
more
first turn of
builders, that helps the
Antiquity
AI.
to the end with zero
Commanders
change.
helps the AI.
The AI has clearer objectives, just like the player has clearer objectives within each age. So we're looking at clearer problem spaces. So from sort of a mechanical stance there, that's a great advantage. On top of that, with these pathways, these historical options, as well as the gameplay options, we are allowed to give the AI a little bit more direction in some of their choices because, if you're this leader, you're more likely to pick this civ because it was a historical connection or a regional connection, or because this happened in this age, you've unlocked this, and there's a really good gameplay opportunity for you to take this one. So giving the AI a strong weighting on the choices they make based on those connections has been, at the age transition, has been a really big opportunity that we've tried to capitalize on.
That's really awesome. A lot of our players too are wondering about natural disasters, environmental effects. Can
They're
you
in the
guys speak
game.
to that at all?
Yeah, we didn't happen to see any of those really pop up here, but they are back. We have a wide variety of them. They are gorgeous. The art looks fantastic. But
Yep, it does.
there's, like I said, a
The
big
natural
variety. We have
disasters, by the way, look
volcanoes, we have
amazing in Civ 7.
storms, and those
They should release
will pillage things. They
like
will
shorts
destroy
just
your
going
buildings,
over them.
They will damage your units, and then they will deposit a whole bunch of yields on the map. And those are bigger and cooler than they've ever been before. So we're really excited to showcase that.
All mountains smoke a little, don't they?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
And volcanoes, I saw a specific question. Have volcanoes made it into the game as well?
They are back.
Awesome, awesome. So a lot of our players talk about tall versus wide gameplay, right?
Yes.
Do you kind of focus on a small amount of cities and really build them up, or do you kind of expand outward? I'm getting some specific questions about how many tiles can you expand in a city. We can get into the nitty-gritty a little if you're comfortable.
Sure. So the number of tiles you can expand is the same as Civ 6. We've not changed the core foundation there. We have our
Three range distance.
33 rule where we have 33% of the game that's the same, 33% of the game that's new, and 33% of the game that is iteration and updates. So that 33% of the game that's the same, that includes how the core of a city functions, the tiles that it can work, the range of that. So you're still settling the same distance between each city. There has to be 3 tiles between each, so 4 tiles exactly apart. You're still working out to 3 tiles. You can acquire tiles in your borders farther than that under certain conditions, but you are working the land 3 tiles out. If you build a massive urban sprawl and take up all of your urban or all of your rural districts, all of your tile improvements,
you're gonna have a hard time
with
feeding
urban tiles instead, you're not going to be producing from the land in that settlement. You're going to have to support it with towns. That's where that wide versus tall really comes into play here, is that town and city mechanic, and then how you're using your specialists.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that, you know, we've had civs where one was favored over the other, but the team has done an incredible job through those systems, like the city limit that you have, the settlement cap, putting penalties in place, happiness, throttling your yields if you're unhappy. So I think it's safe to say both are meant to be viable based on the strategies and how you like to play.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Can we speak at all a little bit to the multiplayer experience in Civilization and sort of what that looks like, especially around the Antiquity age?
Yes, so I think we're going to go a lot more into detail into multiplayer later, but we have revealed that we have, how many, what's the player count for Antiquity?
5.
Is it 5? I think it's 5. It goes up to a standard size map. And you're all on the same landmass, just as we've seen in the gameplay here today. You're all there, and that's because you know, later on the world expands, and that's part of the gameplay now, is that the world gets bigger, and we'll go into the details of how that works and why that works at a later date.
I'm looking forward to
see
see how that works.
Relevant to discuss, though, that there is a very strong gameplay reason why those numbers are different, because the gameplay changes when you talk about, you know, the lands that are far away that you maybe aren't playing with in Antiquity. You know, there's so much that relies on that part of the game to work in a certain way. Obviously, we got some feedback. We're listening. We have some ideas that we're going to look to explore, but we definitely want to make sure we deliver that Antiquity experience so that everyone.
I want to see how it plays before I give my feedback on that. I think it could be good. It could be bad.
Absolutely.
That's my take on that.
And then a couple more specific questions, if you don't
So
mind.
I'm playing with a
I'll
pile of
just go
salt on
through
my desk
2.
for my dinner.
Dude with bad jokes on Twitch asks, if you kill a settler, does it die? Do you capture the settler? Does it turn into a worker? What happens?
I thought
What?
that question might come up. The settler now gets destroyed.
Yes.
You do not capture settlers, and of course there are no builders or workers anymore, so you cannot capture those either. Instead, you're destroying the unit completely.
Perfect.
Got it. And Sean Fuzz on YouTube asks,
I will miss
how are
capturing
roads
settlers.
built?
It's like a classic Civ thing.
It's a great question. Roads are automatic to a certain range. So if you were to settle really, really far apart, I don't remember that range off the top of my head. I think it's 10 tiles. But if you settle really far
10
apart,
tiles feels
you will
really
not
far.
create a road. If you settle within 10 tiles, you will create a road back to your capital.
7 tiles feels
all
way
roads
more
lead to
reasonable.
Rome, as it were. Even if you're not playing as
But I guess
Rome,
they added a little bit of
the
leeway.
road is created to your capital. Then we saw merchants earlier, and we talked about how you move a merchant to a city and create a trade route there. If it is a land trade route, it creates a road for that as well. And then the merchant has an ability to create a road. So if you have a settlement that does not have a road in between them,
Yeah,
because the
Civ
road
5
is going to
worker
the capital
stealing
and
is
not
kind
to
of
each other. You can use a merchant to create a road there.
Got it. Yeah,
I
there
don't
are a
love it.
lot of very mechanical.
It gives you so much
specific
tempo to skill
questions.
workers, and it
And
just
one of the things that I just wanted to shout out is it took us, you know, we had a lot of turns in the
Yes,
Antiquity
we did.
age, and we still, you know, it feels like there's so much more to reveal. So
There is.
we have a lot of live streams coming up. We're going to be diving into the exploration age more as well. But it really
Based.
just goes to show how full I think these ages feel when you play them
Yes.
as well.
It's hard to
this
hold
is-
us back.
What's that?
It was hard to hold us back. We want to keep going.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I want to thank you guys for taking time from working on the game.
No,
to come
thank
be
you,
on the live
Pete.
stream today. So we've been joined today by Andrew
You
Fredrickson,
hero.
the lead producer of Sid Meier's Civilization
Andrew's
7,
also a hero.
Dr. Andrew Johnson,
Andrew's
the lead
a hero.
historian on Civilization 7, and Carl.
Carl's a
he
hero.
who's crowned with iron, Harrison.
I have no recognition or title. I had to work on that.
I feel like I have to work on
Yeah,
that too.
we got to step up.
Okay.
Well, I mean, a good one, not just a work one.
Ooh, all right, asking a lot. I want to remind you that you can follow us at civilization.com. There's
Follow them.
gameplay guides posted up there.
Check
so
out their
after
gameplay
today's
guides.
stream, for example, we'll be adding the gameplay guide to Greece. That's pretty cool. Follow us on our social medias. I know they've been putting them up over the course of the stream at CivGame.
Hit 'em up.
On Civilization, youtube.com/civilization. Hopefully
Poggers.
The stream will get posted to there. But we've got one more thing to share with you before we go today, right, sir?
Yes, and not only that, I want to call out quickly that we have our first developer diary going live on Steam as well. So definitely be sure to check
Developer
that out.
diary!
We're going over ages, in depth, written by Ed Beach. So
Yes!
take
Let
a
him
look
cook!
at that. I also, am super excited to reveal our first look of Hatshepsut, which we will show on screen right now.
Turn the first look videos.
Let's go. I'm hiding myself for this one.
Hatshepsut's glorious reign bolstered trade, infrastructure, and
She's
artistic
mewing.
innovation.
True.
Her ambition to create a magnificent, wonder-filled empire
Did
is
they use the same
rivaled
voice
by
actor?
few
That Sarah
others
lady?
in history.
Brincats orbis terrarum.
She accomplished it all by taking advantage
Navigable
of the powerful
rivers.
Nile River, a major influence in her
Navigable
leader
rivers.
design. As Hatshepsut, build your cities near navigable rivers for a production boost to
Based.
buildings and wonders.
Age, so
What?
opposite.
It's fine.
Whose cultural and scientific bonuses
You guys panicked me. I thought
amplify
I'd
the power
opened
of
up
your
my-
many wonders.
I don't know.
Or choose a
Thought something
different
bad had
path,
happened.
all your own. But whatever you build, remember
Floating pyramids.
to build something you believe in.
Did anyone else see the floating pyramids? I saw the floating pyramids. Based. Okay. I have so much fucking work to do tomorrow now. To go over all this. All right. I love you all. Enjoy your stream. I'm going to go host some nerd on Twitch. Can you replay that end segment? Just go to their YouTube channel. They'll have it. Who am I hosting? You know what? RT.
Go.
He's always
Why
he's
is
always
Ped
hosting.
locked out? Wait, why is Ped locked in?
He locked the door. Hey, listen to him.
Edwin, why are you locked in your office?
Go raid RT
I'm
game.
gonna play a sick prank here.
I love you all very much. We're
Play a sick
bazouncing.
prank. I'm a bit of a jokester. I have a bit of a hands-off.
Go hit him up. Catch you all later.